Oh, you were a second short.
Damn.
So close.
I'm always a second fast, whether it's counting this in or hitting the timer when I'm making my food. I'm always a second early.
That went better places than it could have. Thank you.
Yeah, I was skeptical on where that was about to go.
I'm not disgusting. Who do you think I am, Paul?
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's very fair.
I resemble that remark.
He wasn't late today. We can't bully him.
I know. We'll find something else to bully him for. As Paul,
no, I wasn't bullying
for the record, was actually early.
Late.
We can't bully him for
being
being
late.
late. But we can't bully Paul today. But we can welcome you all back to Twisted Fates. Haha, smooth transitions. Where should I confuse my boys today? As of course I am your dungeon master, but who should I introduce first? Or should I just go normal and not throw them off the groove?
Whatever you do, Matthew's already thrown off.
I know, because he's prepping for it. No, we'll go normal order today. My boys, Craig.
Hello.
Ewan.
Hola.
Matthew. Give you a bit of your groove back. And then Paul, who is technically the star of the show today, but we'll get into that a bit later.
So.
Again, not really much of an intro for you today. Certainly not much of a recap. The last session, the boys journeyed a little bit further into the Temple of the Precursors. They discovered some interesting information, though weren't entirely able to piece it all together, throwing a lot of assumptions around as they made their way through, discovering a set of tombs buried deep within, as well as what was a very odd sight with the previous owners of the temple, lots of dead bodies and mysterious liquids.
Alcohol.
Well, you never really drank it to find out, did you? You just kind of assumed that.
True.
Wolfric got PTSD from some stone statues, and once he returns to normal, will never be able to go to a garden centre again in his life.
No more Fortnite!
But the kind of ultimate climax of last session, where we kind of left it off, was the party were fighting one of the guardians of the temple, another one of these stone statues, and had a relatively interesting encounter with their ward, with Lucius, after he imprisoned Markusar, Wolfric, and Eidolon in a wall of force with the golem.
Yeah, we discovered he was a little fucking bitch.
Fuck Lucius. Me and my homies hate Lucius.
Turns out they did actually have reason to hate him, just not the reason I thought they would hate him for, but hey-oh. As Lucius actually left the party at that point after being clocked square in the jaw by Wolfric and nearly killed by Eidolon. Thank you, Ran, for that.
You're welcome.
But Lucius left, he remained in the temple, he remained to do some more of his research, giving Eidolon essentially leave to go and collect the writ that they needed to take to Summerhost from his carriage, and ushered the party to go to Summerhost without him, to go and collect the men that he needed, to go and collect the will of the Lord on their own. To be fair, that's probably for the best, as the party don't really like him at the moment, and he doesn't really like them.
So it works out nice.
It works out nice. But today, we are, I guess, skipping a little bit of travelling, as you're not too far from Summerhost and not much will really occur on the journey there, unless there's anything specifically you guys want to talk to one another about. They obviously have that option. I can shut my mouth and let you use RP for a little while, but if not, it will kind of be almost fast travelling to Summerhost.
Fast travel.
As
the Twisted Fates logo, like in and out, you know, like Batman.
just get it spinning. I need to actually learn how to do that.
Can we use the jingle that like the Batman series uses, or is that copyright infringement?
I don't know.
Probably copyright infringement, but I could use Ewan's version of it, just him muttering it. And then that's not, because it counts as a cover. But away from what I have to do for the rest of this week in terms of editing this episode, to Summerhost, where I suppose your experience of larger holds, even from where some of you are from, Summerhost is quite a far cry from that. There's no big walls, there's no enclosed spaces, it's very open in terms of how the hold starts coming into view. A lot of farmland, barns, farmhouses, not so much crop fields, more livestock. You see a lot of cattle farms, a lot of ox farms, even sheep, goats, llamas, alpacas. They seem to have a variety of animals at their disposal, but not a lot of... There are obviously crops, because you need the crops to feed them, you need the grains, but it's not their primary export by the looks of things. When you obviously walk through Hillview, it was a lot more crop farms. These are a lot more animal farms.
We can buy an alpaca.
I guess for Ranagash, Markusar, this is something you've become very familiar with Summerhost, so it's not too much of a shock to you in the grand scheme of things. As obviously, to make room for a lot of these farms, they've had to cut down a lot of wildlife, they've had to cut down a lot of trees and a lot of the natural glades around this area. It's something that for Eidolon and Wolfric, you guys wouldn't really pay much attention to, as both of you come from areas where progress sometimes means sacrifice. Well, Wolfric, you are a lumberjack, so...
God damn,
Wolfric is the progress.
I am the danger.
So this kind of scenery, this kind of setting isn't very strange to the two of you. Ranagash, obviously you come from a forest. You guys are very protective over your forest. Even Kinreen, the closest settlement to you, doesn't deforest in the same way that clearly the people of Summerhost do. There's very little in terms of like natural woodland outside of Halden. Like, you can see Halden on the horizon. There's no glades, there's no trees, there's not even like, I guess, snippets of wildlife on the side of the road. It all seems to be very like trimmed and manufactured as you're coming into this town. As Markusar, one of the things that you do notice coming into the town, which I guess is a little bit more different in the kind of month and a half that you have been away, you're obviously used to the logging from Summerhost. However, they don't really touch Halden.
Yeah.
However, as you guys are coming into Summerhost, you're starting to come down the dirt tracks and it's starting to move into the more stone roads. Markusar, you notice that more to the southern part of town, where the kind of city or the hold touches Halden, a lot of the trees have been cut, as a few of the farms have expanded and the hold themselves seems to be kind of almost moving further into Halden.
Markusar has some very visible anger on his face. It's bloody ridiculous.
We're clopping in.
Don't have too much to say on that more, because we've seen him get angry about progression before, see farms in Tenon, so I'll leave his anger stewing unless he does something.
Yeah, these behaviors aren't really new to you, so I guess we just...
And unless Markusar chooses to do something outside of just being angry about it, we'll leave him to be mad about it.
Let's go into town and I'll find out more.
So what I need you to do is Eidolon, again, stupid passive perception, you're fine. Ranagash and Wolfric, I need you to roll me some perception checks.
I like having good eyes.
I'm not used to, at this point, having someone in my party with 19 as their passive perception. Wolfric, you do kind of notice this more at the corner of your eye, and Ran, again, it's more in the peripherals than anything else. Eidolon, as you four are riding through, Markusar, this is nothing new for you. The four of you seem to be getting some very strange looks from the locals on the streets. And it's not kind of like patting looks in the case of, oh, these are four new strangers into town. It's more like raised eyebrows, wide eyes, and then kind of like either conversations become whispers, or even some of them begin pointing at you. You even see...
You know when, like, when the bad guy, like, rides into town in, like, a western, and everyone's, like, hurrying away inside?
Are you the bad guy?
Imagine it's like that.
You even see, Eidolon, that a few kind of gathering groups, or a few, like, groups of people, in their whisperings and in their kind of more pointings, even go and find some of the local guardsmen. Continue obviously pointing at your group and whispering to them.
Key distinction, they're pointing at our group. Are they pointing at any particular members of the group? Or are they just pointing at the group as its essential own unit?
Give me an active perception check.
That's 25.
A lot of them seem to be pointing at the group in general, though a few of the conversations you can overhear, and a few of the more, I guess, direct gestures either mention it's him or point at Markusar.
More just as a passing remark as we're going through the town in that case. You're not very popular around here.
What would give you that impression?
I don't know, something about the, hushed tones, pointed fingers. I don't know, just something seems a little... As he'd more just turn around and give you a shrug before turning back.
Did you do something?
I've done several things.
That's not
Excuse
comforting.
me. Sorry, Ranagash.
That's not comforting.
Oh, you need not... Don't be worried. It will all be fine. There's nothing to worry.
Too late.
Yes.
Too late on that one.
Obviously you guys are riding in on your horses. Markusar, you know that the upper hills, so where obviously the Lord would be staying, the roads themselves are naturally too narrow for horses, so you'll probably have to stable them. However, you do have some options in terms of stabling them, both of which obviously you know. So you can go and take them to the Drunken Stump, which is one of the 2 taverns or inns in town. The local gentleman there is usually quite pleasant. He wouldn't really give your group much bother. However, the other option you can go and take them to is go and taking them to the Emblazoned Saddlery, which is the stables and obviously farrier and leather workers in town. The owner of said shop is probably someone you know quite personally.
I recommend we go to the Emblazoned Saddlery to hitch up.
Alright.
I'm friendly with the woman who works there.
As you guys...
More Eidolon's mind goes to in that case, then should we be?
As you guys head through town. The small town of Summerhost, or I say the small town, it's not a small town at all. The hold of Summerhost is pretty big. It's built on, I guess, a collection of hills, with the kind of lower hills being a little bit more crowded, though the streets are a lot wider, a little bit more open. And as the further you go up, the streets kind of more narrow, as they're obviously being accommodated by the hills themselves. The Emblazoned Saddlery is quite a large building. It's almost like 2 barns with a small kind of almost bungalow in the middle joining them. You can see kind of the barn doors open on one side where it's much more of like a stables and a farrier, and then on the other side the barn doors are closed, but you get that very familiar tannery smell, which is always very, very pleasant, if anyone actually knows what a tannery smells like.
Well, considering what they use in a tannery, no, that would not be nice.
Very efficient though, having a stables and a tannery.
I wonder what they use the stable part for.
However, obviously you guys would take your horses to the more, I guess, stable area rather than the tannery area, unless you really don't like your horses.
At the very least for Ewan, we should definitely take these into the stables.
Oh yeah, he's got
he's got Sorrow's horse.
Sorrow's horse, yeah.
My horse now.
As amongst a collection of stable hands, as well as a few farriers, there is one woman who not so much catches your eye, but you certainly catch hers, or at least Markusar does, as it is a, I guess, quite broad-shouldered elven woman, quite tan skin, very almost dark brown hair, though when she comes out from the stables it turns into more of like an olive brown. Takes, well, Markusar's horse, kind of ignores the other 3 of you. Markusar, I wasn't expecting you back. You know I can't hide you again.
I wasn't expecting myself back so soon either, but my quest called upon it. How have you been?
I've been fine, I've been well. A lot better, actually, since the last time we spoke, but...
Tell me, what's happened here while I've been gone? I noticed they've started logging in Hilden.
Yeah, the Lord's looking to expand.
Can he not expand anywhere else? Has he not deforested this land enough?
The only other place he could go is the Eastwood, and that's too far. Apparently he's being careful, but when is he ever careful, am I right?
Am I right? Big high five.
This is incredibly strange seeing Markusar interact positively with someone. It was so strange.
So, what can I do for you today?
Well, we've had a very long journey. If there's any chance we would like to keep our horses here for the time being.
You're always welcome to. Who's your friends?
Especially these are my friends. This is Wolfric.
Alright.
This is Radagash.
Pleasure to meet you.
And this is Eidolon.
I'd give a slow, careful nod, keeping eyes on whoever this person is.
She kind of gives you a smile, kind of gives the three of you a bow. I'm Ren. Most people call me White, so it's kind of up to you which one you'd prefer. You don't have to introduce me. Usually we never have time for that, so this is the most I've actually spoken to you without you hiding in the back of my stables.
Yeah, I had to... I was kind of in a bit of a rush that last time.
The last time, the time before that. Though it's strange you're not with Dorhallen, I thought...
I haven't seen him in a while, of course, but hopefully I might see him soon while we're here.
I think if you didn't see him whilst you were here, he'd probably kick your ass the next time you came around.
He'd like to kick my ass, I'd kick his ass.
That's a difficult one to put money on.
I'm pretty sure last time I beat him up, but maybe we're due a rematch.
Or maybe he just hit your head so hard that you couldn't remember.
That could also be true.
I'm glad there's one consistent thing in that no matter where we go, Markusar gets shit.
Back before he was Father of the Green Hand, yes, and even then, the title isn't going to get him any kind of special treatment.
You didn't exactly have to tell them that. I wanted them to believe I had some sway around here.
Oh, I'm not saying you don't have sway. It's more, yeah, I knew you when you were still yay high and trying to talk to horses, so...
Father said I had to practice.
Well, last time we spoke to a horse, he got a man killed.
We won't discuss the last horse.
Again? Well.
We've had some adventures.
I can imagine so. No, I have some stables for your horses. I can look after them for as long as you need, so...
Just take care of that one. I point to Sora's horse, just like that horse belongs to what's he got? Master of Arms at the Citadel. So take good care of him.
So your adventures have gone pretty far then,
to say the least.
And she kind of whistles several of our stable hands over, and they take your horses from you and begin to removing their tack, giving them space in the stables, giving them fresh hay and fresh water.
What else have I missed while I've been away?
Not a lot, actually. At least eventful. The Lord's continued his project, though it's been halted for perhaps the past 3 or 4 days. There's been issues in the woods. He's forbade anyone from going in or out, actually.
I have an idea who might be giving him issues.
I would be surprised, though, in saying that, as far as I'm aware, it's a lot of the Green Hands haven't really been in town as of late. I've seen a few of them. They occasionally work with the lower farms, but even coming into town for supplies, like at least in the past 2 weeks, I've not seen anyone.
Curious.
At least no one's come to see me, which is always a bit strange considering I usually am their first port of call in town. Well, it's either me or Neela, but...
Of course. I'll need to inquire about that. That does seem quite odd. We actually have to go see the Lord, so hopefully I can discuss what's so funny.
If I wasn't so busy, I'd come and watch.
We are on a mission from the Citadel, so hopefully we shouldn't have too much issues. Though I do have issues. Though I may have issues with him, I may have to put them aside for the time being.
Don't know if that's much of a may. You're probably going to.
I can discuss with him what's happening here. I wish to know why he feels he can encroach into Halden. He knows that land is sacred.
Leave it until after the writ is passed on.
If you say so, Eidolon.
Whatever this is you want to discuss, I can already tell it's not going to go well, so let's have the going well go well first.
Wild doing as he's told?
We have a reputation.
Strange group of friends you found yourself
wild
with.
by name, wild by nature.
Well,
you've said a lot of questionable things. I think that's the weirdest I think you've said.
well, if you need anything else, Markusar, you know my door is always open.
I will definitely be back. Turn to the rest of the party. Is there anything we are in need of before we visit the Lord?
No.
Surely whatever we need we can get afterwards anyway.
Yep.
I suppose.
Unless whatever happens gets us kicked out of town.
Let's hope not.
Well,
If that does happen, I've got a place for us all.
Depending on your reputation, that could end up being the cause. That could be the case.
Let's find out then. Good to see you, Ren.
And you, Wild. Ishimor waves the four of you out of her stables.
So, head up to the Lord's
You head up
longhouse.
to the upper hills and towards the longhouse, towards the Lord's longhouse. To which case I do need the four of you this time to make me perception checks.
18.
I always forget.
One less than my passive.
Ah, we're back to normal perception checks for Matthew.
Thus! Having a +9 just feels so whack.
17. Cool, so
Dice
everyone
whack.
bar Matthew.
Whack.
Oh yeah.
Tradition.
As you're walking up into the upper hills, you actually start to see, I guess, the whole landscape of Summerhost. Miles and miles of just acres of farmland. You can see all the way down to the road you guys walked on, as well as the branching and spiraling roads that lead into the various different farmsteads and ranches around the hold. However, what the three of you end up focusing on, and one of the lower farms, not too far off the road from where you guys came in, there seems to be a little bit of commotion. It catches your attention more because you kind of hear the shouting come up the streets, and it's not like merriment or cheers or chattering, it's very much argumentative and aggressive. Where taking your eye, though you're not too sure, I guess, what is going on, more just kind of seeing the collateral aftermath, as it looks like perhaps one of the farmsteads, one of the fields, the fences have broke, and a lot of the cattle are running out of the fields, more kind of scattering across the roads and into the actual plains themselves, far from the reaches of the farmer. Eidolon and Wolfric, you guys can see there is obviously the farmer, along with quite a lot of the guards, trying to obviously herd quite a lot of the cattle back, but there is a small group of people running from the scene and over the hills and delves and towards Halden.
Some nice work.
Excuse me.
Oh, nothing to be concerned. Just some good old justice.
People who are running away from the scene, what do they appear to be wearing?
You're not too sure because you're obviously a lot further away, but it seems to be very plain clothes, very plain linens.
Would those be some of your green hand?
Might be.
Alright, so we take that answer as a yes.
You're just carrying out acts of justice, and you know everything about justice, Eidolon, don't you?
Yes, considering that's my entire field of expertise, and I would not call that justice. In fact, that would be considered a criminal act.
Greater good.
There is no greater good in justice, nor in law.
Greater good.
No greater good. Stop that. In the eyes of she, that is justice.
Well, isn't it just a shame that the eyes of she don't come into law?
Yeah,
Maybe not where you're from.
Little thing called the separation of church and state.
Round of applause for Wolfric.
I didn't expect Wolfric to be so politically woke.
Wolfric is strangely like the most woke member of the entire party. He knows politics, he knows science.
Again, though, it's because canonically Wolfric is the only one out of you chuckle fucks who's gone to school.
I'm probably the one with the most adept reading ability.
He probably knows the order from like the weird Henry VIII rhyme.
Divorce beheaded died.
Divorce beheaded survived.
Yeah, but it's like
There you
who's
go.
who. I remember Catherine, I think it's one of the Catherines is one of the last ones. It's not really my time period.
Andolin is the only one I know.
As you're kind of having this conversation, heading up to the upper hills, more kind of lost, I guess, in perhaps the more political drama that Summerhost can offer.
Brings.
You turn a corner, and you suddenly hear a smash. As for Ranagash, Wolfric, and Markusar, you guys are fine. Eidolon, you're less so.
Excuse me.
As you're obviously having this conversation with Markusar, your attention's taken just a little bit, and you appear to have bumped into someone carrying what looks like quite a lot of ceramics, which are now in tatters on the ground. Markusar, you recognise this woman. It's someone that, not so much her, but her father, your group have had a little bit of a run-in with occasionally, as this is one of the Gracie sisters.
Ah.
This is Amalia, the kind of middle child.
I see.
However,
Wolfric.
before you even have the chance to respond to her, she more gets down on her knee to start picking up her pottery, looks up at Eidolon. Don't you just watch where you're going?
Forgive my friend Amalia.
She more looks at Markusar, looks at Eidolon. Oh, well, that explains it then.
Wolfric will start helping her. It's like, I'm sorry about this.
I was gonna say Eidolon would start getting down to at least help pick up what is left, I suppose.
Don't. There's no point. If you're with him, then there's no point in you helping. You'll just make things worse.
What the fuck have you done in this town?
There's not much I can say. All I can really do is help pick up what's left.
Pick up the pieces. At least perhaps you'll be good at that. As she more bundles it into her basket, a lot of broken pots.
What the fuck?
If you'll excuse me, she more flips a very tangled mess of black hair over her shoulder. She has, I guess, quite striking features as she has very, very dark hair, very, very pale skin, but littered with freckles, and very, very piercing, almost white blue eyes. As she kind of just stares at the four of you, looks at Markusar more, humps, and storms past you.
Give her a big, wide grin back to her, like.
Headlong just rubs his temples for a second.
I'm sorry. When did we get transported from our Dungeons and Dragons campaign to the plot of a John Hughes movie?
I don't know what that means, Ewan.
John Hughes made
Breakfast Club.
Ferris Bueller.
A lot of, like, I guess, teenage drama.
Yeah.
Is a good way to describe his aesthetic.
More just casting a glance at Markusar, more just a shake of the head, more just in confusion, just like, what have you done here? I should really go and apologize sometime.
You are a polarizing individual, Markusar, and that concerns me greatly.
Say there's much need.
I would inherently disagree.
There's not much need to apologize to her, since she knows you're with me. She won't see it as genuine.
Right, are we gonna go speak to this lord?
I suppose.
Keep walking in, walk up, and then knock on the door.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.
As when you get to the longhouse, when you kind of get to the Lord's Mead Hall, a servant is quick to attend you at the door. Kind of an older gentleman, more plainly dressed than, I guess, formally dressed. He kind of looks between the four of you, catches sight of Markusar. You see him visibly kind of shoulders slump and he sighs as he rhymes off almost as if it's a script at this point. I'm sorry, gentlemen, but if you have a concern with the Green Hand, you're better taking it up with the captain in the barracks. I am sure she will be willing to speak with you at her earliest convenience.
Correspondence from the Dynast in the Citadel.
I'm like, there's no need. We're here to speak to the Lord about a writ. Who has the writ? Do I have the writ? Do you have the writ? Who has the writ?
I
will magically conjure the writ from my pocket. No, I take it out of my pocket.
We've got a writ.
You can see that the gentleman is incredibly confused. You can see that, like, literally this has been essentially a pre-recorded message that's just kind of been cut off halfway as someone's picked up the phone.
It's like, it's stapled to, like, the back of the door that you opened. It's like...
What do I say now?
This isn't on the script. There's no response for this.
As he kind of more darts between the four of you, looks at the writ. If you will come in, gentlemen, I will fetch the Lord for you.
With haste, please.
as he kind of comes in, leaves you guys in the entryway. You can see him dart through a set of corridors, and as he kind of disappears, a pair of guards come out, and not really, I guess, directly at you, but more kind of they stand in the corner and watch the four of you very intently.
Markusar sharing a wide grin with all of them, you know? Like, that kind of thing.
I don't think they like you very much.
I've never actually seen the inside.
Markusar, what the
Yes.
fuck? What the fuck? You,
I told you, I have a reputation.
apparently as like a consistent nuisance? Are you Dennis the Menace? What the fuck is going on?
Could say that. I forget all the things that I've done so far. And and I point to like one of the guards. It's like, what was the last thing you heard about me?
The last thing I heard about you or the last thing you were arrested for, those are two different things.
Take your pick.
The last thing I heard about you is you left town.
That's fair. I didn't think about that.
What was
How
the
about
last thing he was arrested for?
He was arrested.
You've been arrested? Like,
They kind of
Well,
look. They
like
kind of
more
look
than
between
once?
each other, almost trying to like work it out in their heads. It will probably have been from the incident at the Avon property.
Good times, good times.
Good times.
The what now? The what now at the Avon property?
It's fine. They couldn't charge me. They had nothing on me.
However, clearly you admit to the crime.
I'm not admitting to anything.
I need a fucking drink.
As in moment of awkward silence and great concern, the servant man comes back, the kind of butler guy comes back, with quite a, I guess, tall and handsome gentleman. He's quite slender, he's not very broad-shouldered, very light hair and quite striking green eyes. He seems to be, I guess, nobly dressed, but unlike a lot of the other nobles that you have encountered, at least in your small time, moving through like Tenon and the Citadel, they all, even for show, have weapons on their persons. This guy does not. He doesn't even have a sword belt on him. He's just in his normal jerkin and his trews. He's got like no belt, no sheath, no weapon, not even like a decorative dagger. He's very plainly dressed in that sense. As he kind of comes through, he gives a nod to his serving man, who kind of scuttles through the corridors, and he stays with his guards, though more leaves them in the background as he approaches the four of you. Before the four of you can even, I guess, address him, introduce yourself, he gives four of you, he gives three of you a bow. One of you is very much left out of said bow. Pleased to meet you, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure to meet you too, sir. I reciprocate the vow. I am Wolfric Reinbrand of the Iron Dragons.
Maybe you've heard of me.
This is just
That's my thing. You might have heard of it.
No, the difference between Wolfric and Storr is that people should give a shit about Wolfric.
Oh.
I'd stand up, give the
Wanna be
man a
king
short
head
nod
ass.
before passing the letter over to him.
He kind of gives you a nod. My name is Dovid. Most call me Lord Havenarrow, but I prefer, I guess, a less informal setting. I am familiar with yourself, Master Wild. What about yourself? And more gestures it at Eidolon and Ranagash.
Come on, Matthew.
Why am I going first? Why
Be
me?
Say the
charismatic!
line, Matthew.
Be charismatic! Do the charisma!
Fine.
Say the
Fine.
line, Ranagash.
Well, now I'm not doing it. No.
Well, now I'm not doing
Ranagash the bastard. Pleasure to meet you.
No pleasures to be had here.
civility for 5 minutes. It's all I ask.
Eidolon,
A pleasure.
I'm sure it could be.
If you will follow me, gentlemen, we can perhaps discuss more in my own study.
I wasn't
Yes.
aware there was much to discuss beyond the passing of the right. Not right, Ret. That was my bad.
I would like to take the time to read it, but I believe it would probably cordon further discussion.
Markusar doesn't like this one bit.
He doesn't like you one bit.
And honestly, I'm currently more partial.
Baby about it. Then.
I'm more partial to agreeing with the Lord right now, considering you're a convicted criminal.
Several times.
Arrested, not charged.
You
Get
are
it
a
right.
criminal!
I'm not.
I am following the Lord.
I can assure you, gentlemen, it won't take up much of your time.
Understood. To
Markusar has given him daggers the whole time, you know.
I have pottery to pay for, so it shouldn't really. I need to have time to spare.
Wolfric will turn around to look at Markusar. It's like, right, I know you don't like him, and he's not to be trusted, but be polite, behave. I swear to God.
He's a fucking murderer.
Right, listen. Irregardless of whether he is or not, you need to be civil. You need to be civil. You hear me? Won't have any of this fucking about while you're in my presence, alright?
This is my
You're gonna
time.
behave.
You don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, well, I'm older than you.
Respect your elders.
Respect your elders. I respect that this is your town. Just civility. That's all I'm asking for.
What have I?
All I'm
what
asking
am I
for.
except courteous?
Don't take that tone with me.
Paul's taking himself a hole again.
I guess
He
I
did have
follow.
the point as well. He was pointing
Need we also remind Markusar that he is also a murderer?
of an innocent man and an innocent horse.
If I was next level, I would expend a key point just to say that to Markusar telepathically. I would be willing to do that.
And then you
What I
breathe.
did was manslaughter. What he did was murder. There's a difference.
Is there now, Markusar?
I said that out of character.
I know.
I thought you
Our
were
characters didn't hear that, Paul. We all heard that.
You heard it here first, arguing the semantics of murder.
Alright, let's follow the murderer.
Let's follow the Lord.
As David heads round a corner and up a flight of stairs to what looks more like a living space than a proper study. There is obviously a study area, but he more takes the living space, offering the four of you a seat. Would you
I
care
would
for anything
continue
to
to
drink,
stand.
gentlemen?
A glass of water would be nice.
As he, strangely enough, despite there being servants in the room, he is the one to pour for you.
Who's this guy
Anything for
think he
yourself,
is? Man,
Ranagash?
nice.
Give me a sec. No, I'm fine for the moment, thanks.
And yourself, Master Wild?
Say anything, just stare at him. Can I intimidate him?
No.
No.
He kind of takes a moment to read over the letter.
Maybe we should have read the letter before we gave it to him, just to find out what it was.
That's kind of why I'm here, because if he opens his mouth in the wrong way, I'll just kill him. But that's beyond the point.
Sure.
Well, I guess I can send men. I can give him some assistance. At least that's what he's asking for. Some
Yes.
ruin, not too far from here.
Yes.
However, he'll have to wait. I have my own matters to deal with at the moment. I need my men to protect my people.
And to deforest Halden?
Master Wild, I have my people to think
Father.
about.
I
have-
my actual title.
I have two options. I can cut down a few trees in Halden, or I move to the eastwood, where my people will be taken, and there is much more risk through unstable grounds.
But a few trees in Halden becomes a few hundred, becomes a few thousand.
I respect that forest as much as you do, Wild. It
Got
is
a bad way
why
of showing it.
It is why the operation has stopped until I can work out what's going on, both for my people and for yours.
What exactly is going on?
The forest, I guess much to your pleasure, is fighting back.
A little smirk on Markusar's face.
What do you mean the forest is fighting back?
At night, there is a melody, a song, that leads people from their homes and into the woods. We have not seen them since. During the day, should operations continue, my, associate, who is overseeing a lot of the operations and abiding by a lot of the old traditions, has claimed that the trees have attacked people. They have killed several of my men, as in soldiers, but they have also killed several of my people, as in wanderers, foragers, travellers.
Perhaps you shouldn't have angered she.
While this is not the
Seems
time
like
to
you-
discuss this.
Seems like it was your men who attacked first.
That still doesn't justify the deaths of innocent people.
Of course, but you can't put the blame on the forest. Seems like it was your fault.
The forest really does have a will of its own, then why is it attacking innocent people and not just the people that it's taking offense to?
Should absolutely have been no but in that sentence, but we're gonna do that.
Hence, I need my men. I need them to protect my people.
Perhaps I can be of some assistance. I know Halden. I might be able to find out. I obviously don't want the death of innocent people.
That's new.
Ooh, this guy right here.
I would give eyes to Wolfric and Ranagash.
I was like, does he know what happened in Tenon?
More than just what happened in Tenon.
Yeah. Sorry. We can try our best to uncover what is happening, under the condition that, should we find out, you will cease logging of Halden.
Why?
Do not want the deaths of innocents on the hands of she. I will try
Well, I
and
mean,
uncover
if we're
what-
gonna argue semantics, they're already there.
Wolfric, not the time.
We are one of the only holes in Ellerant to provide food, leather, wool for the Citadel and beyond. Populations are growing. We need more room. We need more space. Halden is a big forest.
Maybe Summerhost has grown to within its limits. It's this attitude that the world is for the people, when it's for everyone. That includes the animals and the trees. They deserve this world just as much as you.
And that is why I have my druids. That is why I have Neela. You think I took this decision without considering the possibilities of harming the woodland? I weighed up the forest against my people.
The trees are people too.
Though you wouldn't care much for them, now would you?
Of course I care for people. I care for all creatures.
No, you care for your people, Wild. Hence, I am very reluctant at accepting anything you offer me.
Then let the blood of your townspeople be on your hands then, if you do not wish to save them.
With that, you watch as
I
he
can
kind of gets up and almost starts pacing.
I think we're all taking a moment to think.
Yeah. Need my help, David.
We have never needed the Green Hand before.
You've always needed us.
Have we? Your people, as he almost stops dead in his tracks, have caused
What do
nothing
you
but the
mean,
pain
you people?
and suffering of my people.
We have not caused any pain or suffering to your kind.
You've destroyed homes, you've destroyed farms. People have lost their livelihoods. A man lost his wife and child. The Green Hand
No
have not
evidence.
helped Summerhost.
We have freed innocent lives. We have taken down destructive businesses and practices. We have done the best for she.
Get out, Wild.
So you do not wish to get my help.
I do not wish for your help.
Storm out of the room. Swing open the doors of the study. I'm like, this place even that good. Your decor, whack. Door shut.
David, was it?
Yes.
Now that he's quite done with that.
Excuse a more personally orientated question, but would you mind explaining the last point you made? I'm wishing to form a more elaborate opinion of someone who I expect to be working with.
It was a few months back. Quite a, I guess, unpleasant affair. As he rather than taking a seat on the couch, walks over and takes a seat behind his desk. One of the local farmers. He owns Avon Ranch. He is, unsurprisingly, also named Avon.
This wouldn't happen to be referred to as the Avon incident, would it? Well, the incident at Avon Farm.
Yes. The farm itself deals mostly in sheep and goats. It's a wool farm more than anything else. They had a raid on one of their barns. It's not too far from their homestead.
So yes, that is what happened this morning, as I turn around to Wolfric, who was the other one among us who saw it.
In said ensuing incident, Avon lost both his wife and his son.
How did it happen?
He kind of looks you dead in the eye, puts his hands on his, head on his hands. They got in the way.
What do you mean they got in the way?
It's what
I think
happens.
it's rather plain.
It's what happens when people get in the way of the goodwill of the she.
It's more of an aesthetic detail, but Eidolon has to very physically reach and almost force down his left arm.
Fucking boy.
And he, gesturing to the swung open doors, was part of that.
I assume so. I can't prove it, but the Green Hand has attacked many of my people. Not just their livelihoods, but themselves.
Must apologize for not being here a month sooner. I believe I could have easily helped with the investigation.
Investigations like this seem to have ended up in our wheelhouse.
Sadly, it's always been in mine, as I'd give Wolfric an almost sad chuckle. Well, even if he is all... I tripped over my words there. It seems then in that case that his offer is definitely not acceptable to you, so if it's okay with, as I turn back to Wolfric and Ranagash, we'd be happy to offer some assistance.
Yes.
We're on a job anyway for the Dynast, and it would be directly against our best wishes for the men not to be provided to the site, so...
It'd be in our best interests for us to work together.
And even if myself and my axe-wielding comrade here are not the best with nature, we do at least have one who was raised in it, as I'd give Ranagash a nod.
Yes. Not this forest, but forest is a forest.
A tree is a tree.
You are welcome to go and speak to my captain. She'd be happy to have any extra assistance. I would avoid mentioning Wild, however. The two of them have history.
We dated in college.
No, Markusar went to college, but not high school? Not primary school?
No,
What is this?
You got his GED working for an eco-terrorist cult.
Oh my dear God. Before I speak with anybody, do you know anywhere I can send letters from?
You can send them from here or even from the barracks. We have a rookery there.
I have some information I need to send back to the Citadel. However, with what you just told me, I believe there's a few additional pieces I might want to include in that.
And I have some information that I need to send as well.
You're very, very welcome to send what you need to send. Most people in town use my birds and the birds of the barracks to send whatever they need.
Can you use an insight check just to judge someone's character?
Mm-hmm.
Can I try get a measure? Because we've been talking to the Lord of Summerhost for quite a little while now. I'd sort of just like to try an insight check more just to judge. Does he seem to be like being sincere? Is he being insincere? Like where are his motives being drawn from?
Cool. Yeah, you can do a wee insight. You can...
I'd like to do that as well.
Yeah, go for it, Ian.
It was just whilst it was happening. I kind of just want to get a good... Nat 20!
And a 17.
You
That's
boys are on
26
fire
total.
tonight.
I am. I'm really happy with myself.
Team Human.
It's only in spirit, but Wolfric and Ranagash just...
Wolfric and Ranagash?
No, Wolfric and Eidolon. I'm not Ranagash. I'm not a half-orc. I'm not used to referring to myself in the third person.
As given his conversation, register and tone throughout his voice as well as just his body movements, he does seem to come across as being quite sincere. He also comes across as being quite a tired man, most likely just dealing with so much. It very much appears that he has been very sincere with you guys, at least as much as he can be. He doesn't really seem like he's got much to hide, at least in terms of what would be useful for you guys. In terms of his interaction with you, he definitely seems a lot more fond of the three of you. However, both yourself, Wolfric, and Eidolon, though Eidolon you're a lot more quick to this, his interactions of Markusar, whilst obviously being distrusting and have that twinge of hate in them, a lot of the ways that he has interacted with the dragonborn almost seems to ring as disappointment as well.
That's an interesting one.
Like, it's not... Obviously everything that Markusar's done, or he's described Markusar to be doing, would warrant him to be very hateful towards the dragonborn.
But he isn't.
But he isn't.
I guess my last main question then is just through what it is. Everything he's doing, does it actually seem to be for his people?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Is he almost seems to be exhausted by putting everyone else first.
My tab for the Lord of Summerhost now next to his name has full capitalized very tired man. Actually, not angry, just disappointed. In that case, with that sort of more gauge and him being at least somewhat done his conversation, Eidolon would stop his own pacing, walk over to the desk, put a hand casually down on it, and just look at the Lord. Then I guess before we leave, you don't have to answer, of course, but I do have one last question.
Yes.
We've had a very one-sided perspective, I suppose, of you on our way here, so I just want to know the other side. What is your relationship to the blue one?
I have a name, bro. Come on.
Father Markusar Wild.
I didn't want to use the name because he might just get more disappointed by it being mentioned.
I try and avoid using that title. Guess I don't have much personal interaction with the boy. I knew his father, I suppose. Evelios was not mine, but my grandfather's advisor.
Grandfather?
He was with my family for quite some time, even the Lords of Summerhost prior to my grandfather. He assisted them. He's been in our records for even longer than I can remember, and I have read most of our records. He left one day though. I never truly understood why. It's not cited and, well, my grandfather and my father never spoke of it. But he left to form the Green Hand. I'm assuming he found something in his own research that perhaps drove him that way. I don't blame Wild. I try not to blame any of them, despite some of the things they have done to me and to my people.
Why does he call you a murderer then?
Because he blames me for the death of his father.
If you can, elaborate.
If he still blames me for such an event, it is likely Evelios never told him what happened. Though, I doubt there is much that man perhaps forgot to tell his children. Evelios came back to the manor. He came back to my longhouse, to my mead halls. He broke into my hall of records. He was looking for something. My guard obviously attended. Not unsurprising. I put my faith in those men. But the ensuing skirmish, shall we say, left my stables burned, my captain injured, to the point he had to retire, and, well, Evelios dead. Though once he left my estate, he was still dying, so I can only assume he died sometime after.
I trust this man's story as much as I know him, which isn't very much, so I am going to try and insight that. Mm-hmm. See if either that was a lie or anything was missing. 16?
I guess the only thing that strikes you as a little bit strange about his story is there's an absence of him. Markusar was, at least in his own claims, very determined and very pointed at calling the Lord of Summerhost the murderer.
So in that case, where do you slot into it?
That I guess, not too sure about. When the longhouse got broken into, my first port of call was protecting my wife.
I don't just want to keep saying, like, insight, because that just feels, like, really insincere.
Yeah, but you wanna.
I do wanna. I wanna make sure that, like, I have what the information I can have. I mean, I've already stopped it, so I might as well. I've already stopped the flow, I might as well try. Nah, it's only a 10. I'm fine believing that.
He, I guess, seems a little bit more hesitant or a bit more nervous in his speech as he tells you that.
Alright, allow him to continue.
Well, I attempted to do nothing more than defend her. I trust my guard enough that they could handle the intruder.
Just because he does seem more nervous, I'm inclined to think that that's not the whole truth, but I have no way to pry for the whole truth. Oh, you're gonna hate me for this. I would look back somewhat expectantly towards Ranagash in that case. Because if anyone can like at least find a way to get an answer out, it would be, you know, the self-described talker.
Problem is, I'm the self-described talker, not like the self-proven talker.
I know, so prove it.
Do I hear self-deprecation, Matthew?
No, it's not self. How much have I
Self-doubt.
talked?
So I'm assuming his nerves are somewhat evident.
To you, yes.
Oh, only to me.
Yeah, well, you're the only one who's really incited him. Though, obviously, Wolfric and Ran, despite not obviously inciting Dovid himself, because of Eidolon's questioning, you'll be able to kind of pick up that Eidolon thinks that there's something not quite right about what he's saying.
Yeah. We can't see the tells for him lying, but we can see the tells for Eidolon being suspicious.
Exactly.
I guess in that case, more turning around, focusing his attention on Ranagash as he speaks, but focusing his words onto the Lord. My apologies for potentially evoking any, I guess, stressful memories or nerves for my questioning. As almost keeping direct eye contact with Ranagash.
It is alright. It was a long night, to say the least.
We should be going.
I was waiting for Ranagash just in case, but if that is the end, then yeah.
He will kind of stand, and grace the three of you with a nod.
Pleasure to meet you. And I'd offer a handshake.
Big brain! There's no reason not to take it.
Can you give me an insight, Ranagash, as you're doing that? Insight or perception, whatever you're better at, and I'm assuming it's insight.
Yes.
This is so fucking giant
Hey,
brain.
dirty Danny.
Cool. So Wolfric and Eidolon, give me a little perception check just as this is happening as well, because you guys will be able to kind of, I guess, have the chance of seeing this.
On that
Can
20.
hit your +9, a 21. As well.
21.
Cool. So,
Okay, yes.
Ran,
Nice.
you
You so well without me.
seeing his facial expressions and seeing his body movements, you visibly see him consider. Like, this is you put out your hand to shake, but he stops to consider it. The three of you and your collective will also see that he goes to reach out with one hand, obviously the hand that's matching Ran's, and then awkwardly tries to switch it around so that you switch your hands. For example, you put out your left, he goes to obviously put out his, and then switches the hand he takes to give you a handshake goodbye.
Does it look like he's trying to like hide his other hand?
He's definitely favouring one side of his body to the other. As would you shake his hand, Ran? Obviously, switching
His
your
other-
hands.
His other hand is green. No.
His other hand's
Oh
green.
shit.
He's half orc, but he's just split down the middle.
As
Ooga
actually, we
booga,
do this
vision
'cause this is
time.
a little bit more random. Okay, so give me just a wisdom check, or actually give me a wisdom save. See how high you go, as you're actually trying to force a vision this time, which is one of the first times you've ever really done this. Okay,
That's not great, Matthew.
No.
okay, so it's going to be very choppy. Can you give me a Constitution saving throw, but with disadvantage?
Ooh, I kind of hope you fail this.
As this is very much a Ranagash trying to force a vision, which he's never really done before.
It's like trying to force
That's kind of good. That's kind of good. Not good, but kind of good.
Weird how a natural one is good.
It means the Lord might be distracted.
As Ran, you tried to pry into this man's mind, you tried to pry into this man's past, you try and pinpoint that event, you try and pinpoint that night, something that you've done by accident before, but never done on purpose before. As you do find yourself, I guess, the first thing that strikes you as weird is it goes from being day to night. You're still in this study, but no one else is around you. Though you can smell fire and smoke, and quite a lot of it. You hear the door already broken, though kind of rubble and, I guess, debris being pushed over and slammed against a wall, as you kind of turn your head, twist it round, and see Dovid running into this living space, into this study space. You see him more panicked, have a panicked expression on his face, and then you watch as one of the bookcases on the far wall almost opens like another doorway, where you can see a record room behind it. Just scrolls, books, parchments, where you can see a, I guess, relatively blurry figure in your own vision. It's not really a face you recognise, though they are very much elvish in their appearance, and very much decorated in a similar vein to Markusar. They also seem to be carrying something, though again your vision almost seems to obscure them. You're trying to look into someone you've never seen before and you're finding difficulty in it. The two men seem to have a confrontation. You can hear them talking, but their voices are garbled and almost sound like incoherent babbling, as you're not able to pick up what's exactly being said. You do, however, see David with a weapon. He shook you with his right hand, his weapon is in his left hand. You then watch as the two men kind of enter the centre of the room. You almost have to step back, just out of fear of knocking into one of them. Becomes instinct at this point. Where the elf draws no weapon, instead extends a hand. You're not too sure what he does, but it is very magical in its effect. The actual, I guess, spell, or whatever he is casting, is obscured from your vision, but it very much strikes David to the point where it knocks him to the ground. You see that it strikes his left-hand side primarily, his left-hand chest and his left-hand shoulder. He seems to be unconscious on the ground, where you see the elf run out of the room and into the halls, where as the elf disappears you see the black smoke of most likely a burning building start billowing into the study. And it starts to fill your lungs, where for Eidolon, Wulfric and obviously David, who are watching this handshake occur, Ranagash falls to the floor unconscious. You can almost hear him wheezing as he's struggling to breathe.
So, not knowing what Ranagash saw, I'm going to stick with my original plan of what I was going to do if Ranagash did badly on that. I would more take a step forward so that I'm on David's side of the handshake. Taking the side of his body that he was clearly not favoring, so as in the side of his body that he didn't extend the handshake with, and more just pull him back. Almost as in like a cautionary way, pulling him away from Ranagash. And of course, in that gesture, trying to get a gauge for whatever could be on this side that he's trying to hide.
You feel him wince slightly under your arm, but he seems to be okay.
Come on, the man's just got a fucked up arm.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. I had to make sure.
Can you give me a little bit of an investigation check, Craig?
I've never rolled well on these so far in this game.
You actually rolled well on 1, having edited the footage of last episode. Perfect.
Non-natural.
You notice that when you grab hold of him, he is quite a slender man, but as you take his shoulder, your fingers almost go into his collarbone.
Yeah.
Like it's just a hole.
Poor dude. As I'd more pull him slightly aback from Ranagash and more just with a casual gesture of casters, wizard types, you know the deal.
Is he alright?
He'll be fine, and Wulfric will help. We'll probably pick up Ran.
Ranagash's breathing does return to normal, as he ends up being, I guess, more asleep as you pick him up than anything else, though he doesn't seem to regain consciousness.
Do you know where we could potentially go get him looked at?
We don't really have a healing place in town. You could take him to the Nightingale, it's not far. Tell Kyle I sent you, he'll get you some rooms. I will send for the closest thing we have to a healer.
I don't know if that'll be necessary. He might just need some rest. Wulfric, how does he look?
How does he look?
Give me a medicine.
He look. Medicine. This is a straight D20 roll.
He's just not negative. Oh.
He's a man.
No, he isn't.
I mean, no, he's not, but he's a half-orc.
Half man.
He's half-man.
Half-orc. All wizard this summer.
You are not too sure.
I am confused.
Okay, a healer might be appreciated.
Yeah, a healer would be appreciated. I never did do well at the when we had to get our when we had to do first aid at the Iron Dragons.
I was like, if you said something else, I was still ready to just say you went to school. We get it.
It's why he became a warrior with the Iron Dragons and not a healer with the Iron Dragons.
We'll take him to the inn as you suggested.
As you kind of leave his study, obviously he's with you. He directs you obviously back towards the front door, but he himself goes off in a different direction where you can see him more talking to one of his guards, who more speeds past, well, the two of you and Ranagash unconscious in Wolfric's arms, most likely going to get the healer that David spoke of.
Alright, yeah, we'll get him to the inn in that case.
As jumping from the three of them to Markusar, when you stormed out of the room, where would you go?
I think Markusar would have just stormed out of the longhouse. He didn't go anywhere, he's just kind of like kicking around outside, being angry and doing that thing where you're pacing back and forth, you're just kicking shit, you know? Just like little stones and twigs, like, I fucking hate this place. Hate that bastard.
Where's my dad?
It's dead.
In the ground!
In the ground with she. Yeah, I'm just
Okay,
sort of like,
Brooklyn.
I'm just like brooding outside.
As you're brooding outside, firstly a guard will run out of the barrack or run out of the longhouse and you see him run down the street. Shortly after that you then watch as Eidolon and Wulfric exit the longhouse.
Assuming Wolfric's carrying Ranagash.
Yeah, with Ranagash in Wulfric's arms. You guys obviously see Markusar brooding.
Eidolon just trying to calm his growing frustrations at Markusar will try pay him no mind.
We're taking him to the Nightingale. We'll have a conversation later and he walks off.
I've just been blindsided by all of them.
Well, unless he opens his mouth, Eidolon will go past, though Eidolon would find it very difficult to not open his mouth if Markusar opened his.
Well, I guess Wolfbrick said we'll discuss it at the Nightingale. I'll follow.
As you guys head kind of back down the street, past the barracks and towards quite a beautiful building, covered in kind of growing flowers and growing plants, and quite a lively atmosphere inside of it, where you can even hear some music pouring out of some open windows, where upon its plaque and upon its sign, with a very delicately drawn bird, you see the inscription of the Nightingale.
Head inside.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it is very beautifully decorated in here. There are quite a lot of serving girls, as well as quite a busy barkeep.
What was the name we were given?
Kyle.
Kyle. That's easy. Is the working barkeep a male?
Yes.
I gesture for Wolfric just to stay with Ranagash for just a second as I head over to the more busy bar counter.
He catches quite sight of a new face at his bar quite quickly. Kind of this more shaggy, ginger-haired, quite muscular but not broad-shouldered gentleman. Little bit of stubble on his face, kind of comes over. You notice that down his left-hand side as he turns round. He's got a scar that runs from the bottom of his eye, down the bottom of his jaw and then onto his neck. Quite open but quite clearly healed. As he looks at you, "What can I get for you, stranger?"
You wouldn't happen to be Kyle, would you?
"That would be me, Kyle Carmichael. What can I do for you?"
As Eidolon would just give him a nod. The Lord sent us here. He said we could get rooms in his name. We have an injured party.
That's no problem at all. Probably best getting you something on the bottom floor. Back arch, 3 doors down. There'll be maybe 3 or 4 open doors. Take your pick, I'll drop the keys off later. Or at least I'll get Ella to do it for me.
As Eidolon would give him a low nod and head over to Wolfric to tell him where to go.
Right, sounds good. Head off down that way.
Markusar follows.
The rooms here are quite big. They are quite spacious. As well, I suppose the 3 of you would head in with Ran. They are twin rooms, so 2 beds, as you obviously lay Ran down on one of them. As we're left with Wolfric, Eidolon, Markusar.
Wolfric has put Ranagash down. Gets like a wet towel. Is there an ensuite?
Kind of. It's almost like, so there's 2 bedrooms and then there's a bathroom in the middle of the 2 bedrooms, so it's like 1 bathroom but there's 2 doors on it.
Yeah. Head in there, wet a cloth I can find, put it on, wring it out so it's still damp, put it on Ranagash's forehead.
He could not succeed on the medicine, so he medicines himself.
Basic first aid.
Basic first aid. The primary and high school method that works every time. Put a wet paper towel on.
He went to fucking high school. He went to fucking high school! Eidolon is more just simply standing up still, drumming his hand along a windowsill if there is one.
No, but you would have a desk to drum your hands along.
Desk'll do!
He turns around and he looks at Markusar and he kind of... What the fuck is wrong with you?
There's nothing wrong with me.
The fuck was that about? I asked for some civility. We're trying to be diplomatic here and you're acting like a fucking child.
I will not be dealing in his manner.
And I will not be dealing with your insubordinate behaviour.
I am not insubordinate.
You're fucking disrespectful is what you are.
As was the Lord.
You stand there and like you're on some fucking high horse talking about the blood that's on his hands. What about the blood that's on your hands?
We all have blood on our hands.
Good times, Markusar. Is that what you call what you did at that farm?
Is that what you call a dead child?
I did nothing at that farm.
And yet, the people that you support did so in your name.
The details of that night are fuzzy to a lot of us.
Well, boo-hoo. 2 people are dead. That's not fuzzy.
If 2 people are
You're
dead...
scum. You are scum.
Whoa, what's with all the hostility?
Do
not try to justify that.
There's blood on all of our hands. Yes, I've killed before. I've killed many men. I've killed more men than I care to think about. But the thing that they all had in common is they were old enough to hold a fucking sword. They were old enough to defend themselves. Whether or not it was by your hand or by one of your subordinates, you permitted the death of an innocent child. That is more than just blood on your hands. That is a future that never got to be written. You robbed someone of their ability to do good in the world, to influence things. That child could have gone on to doing great things, but you don't give a fucking shit, do you? It's all about your she. It's all about her will. It's all about the way the Green Hand wants things. Have you ever considered some fucking civility before putting your fucking religion in front of literally everything you do? Everything you do is defined by your fucking religion. You are more than just your faith. So why don't you fucking act like it? You may be Father Markusar while lead by fucking example.
Out of character. Fucking well done. In character.
I think Ewan's been planning that for a little while.
Yeah.
This is my Hamlet monologue. This is my Hamlet monologue.
Whatever the Lord told you, he's a liar.
I've met liars. I have dealt with liars. He was not lying. You, on the other hand.
Then he admitted details.
What is your obsession? Your obsession that he's some grand conspirator in all of these events? That
He killed my father!
How do you know that? Did you see him do it?
My father told me. I tried to tend to his wounds before he died before me.
Your father broke into someone's home. The guards of that home were summoned to deal with an intruder. What else do you fucking expect?
My father was carrying out the will of the she.
The will of the she to break into a man's home, steal precious documents.
Look at me, Markusar.
Burn down
Look at me.
his stable.
Do I give a flying fuck what the will of the she is?
I don't expect you to. But I just wish you'd respect my feelings for the she.
I respect your feelings for the she beyond killing someone.
You know you talk a lot about respect for a man who doesn't give any.
That, what Ewan said.
I give respect when it's earned.
Well, you've never earned mine. I still respect you. There's a difference between reverent respect and basic fucking courtesy.
As you're all having this argument, you just hear a knocking at the door.
I'll answer.
There are two women standing outside it. One has a set of keys in her hand. She looks relatively similar to the woman who bumped into Eidolon in the streets, though she looks a little bit older. Not as many freckles, and her eyes are more of a green colour.
I still need to apologize for breaking someone's fucking pottery.
Yeah, you do. And beside her is what looks like a small forest gnome with quite flaming red hair and what looks like more of a shopkeeper's garb than anything else. As the two women kind of more look at you, you see that the clearly human woman looks straight past you, looks at Markusar, looks at you with more of a furrowed brow. Here's your keys, but he's not staying here.
I'm very aware he won't be long.
As she hands you the keys.
Whether it's in this house or for this world, we've still got to find it.
As she hands you the keys and leaves. Whereas the gnome kind of more sticks around. More kind of, I guess, sliding past you and into the room quite deftly. Well, I did hear shouting. I couldn't expect much else. Markusar?
An excuse me would be nice.
I don't need to, you're a lot taller than me. As Markusar, you will recognise this relatively, I guess, blunt gnome as Neela.
Hello, Neela. How are you?
I am better. Can't say the same for you, but that seems to be a common occurrence. The Lord called for me. Someone's ill?
It's my friend Radagash over here. Would you please tend to him?
Martin, you couldn't.
I don't think these people want my help.
Not very many people do, Markusar. And she kind of heads over and tends to Ran.
You know, we've been hearing that a lot.
You likely will. Most people in this town don't particularly like you, do they, Markusar?
That's one way of putting it.
Well, you don't like them either, so it usually goes both ways, doesn't it?
True.
Have you ever considered that if you appear to live in a town full of assholes, that maybe you're the common denominator?
I wouldn't say that. There are quite a few people in this town who have strong opinions towards Halden and the people in there, as well as the forest itself, which I myself would consider to be quite negative.
Well, that's no good.
Everything isn't as clear cut as you think it is, Wolfric.
Well, I know things aren't clear cut. I know more than you, boy.
You perhaps know more than him outside of this place, but here he knows a lot more than you.
This is his wheelhouse. Of course.
No,
And I
this is just
defer to
his
what
area
he
of
knows.
expertise, as you don't look like a druid to me.
I am far from it.
What happened to your friend, may I ask?
Yeah, he has headaches.
I'll ask again. What happened to your friend?
He has visions that give him headaches.
Can I start, because I'm not a fan of this lady, can I start looking through Ranagash's stuff for, you know, the things he gets for dealing with this?
Ah, yes, my meds.
His opium.
Can I get Ranagash's meds
Drunk.
so we don't have to deal with this infuriating woman?
As you go through his stuff, he does obviously have his dried opium, his poppy leaves, his poppy seeds.
How does he usually take it?
Usually through liquids, so like through tea.
And I will start preparing that for him, because you can get unconscious people to drink shit.
You got a kettle in here?
And if not, I'm asking Kyle for one.
You don't have one, but you do have the methods of setting up essentially something to boil through your
And I will do so.
tasks.
He's not got a kettle, but he's got a lot of monster energy.
And I will do so.
I think I have the monster energy here.
Yes, because you are one.
Love it.
And if that was the joke, I'm sorry.
As she does go back to more treating Ranagash, you see she kind of changes her methods of treating him. She almost seems to be pulling what looks like ethereal wisps from his head that seem to disappear and scatter into the ether. However, she quickly gets scent of the tea that you're making, Eidolon, and kind of as she's more focusing, as she's concentrating, you can even see she's speaking with her eyes closed. I wouldn't give him that, at least not till he's awake.
And why's that?
You'll kill him?
Then you can get it when he's awake, then.
She kind of just shakes her head, continues the process. where she is there, perhaps maybe 15-20 minutes. You see her pulling again these almost translucent threads from his head, almost sifting through them and sorting them, putting some of them back into his mind and scattering some of them seemingly to the wind as they disappear. Whereas after the time, she more takes the cloth off of his head. You can hear her recite some words. He seems to glow, quite a white light. She hops down from the bed, and Ranagash, you are awake.
I closed the door.
Did I understand what she was saying?
Essentially what she was doing, Markusar, was she was essentially just cure woundsing,
Okay, fair.
at least at the end.
Yes, at least at the end.
What did you do to him?
I took out bad memories and put the good ones back.
Why?
Because he likely had a vision that tormented him, so you need to get rid of the stimulus so that he awakens.
Feverishly trying to grab the wisps as they float around the room.
So you want?
I understand your methods are likely beyond our understanding, but removing bad and replacing with good doesn't solve any problems. Because I'd help Ranagash set up.
Poking around in his head without his consent, stealing his memories, that doesn't sit right with me.
He has visions. He has poked around in likely all of your heads and seen things none of you want him to see. He does it without your consent.
The difference is he doesn't have a bloody choice.
He doesn't help it. Ranagash, whether he can help it or not, has these visions. But these visions, to him, are often beneficial. Taking away his ability to think of whether he wants them or not is taking away his choice. I suggest, if you can, you put them back.
And he'll likely fall back unconscious again. You are obviously awake, Ran. You are stirred. You can hear all of this. You've obviously just not sat up to respond to it.
Ran, do you remember what you had, what your vision was about?
Which one?
The most recent one.
Give me a few minutes.
I would help him sit up and give him some of the tea.
Ah, yes, thank you. Didn't prepare it right.
Hey, I don't make a lot of tea.
Two
I tried. Help me at least a little bit of slack. My wife only drank coffee. I don't make tea.
I suppose the $1 million question then is, do I remember it?
You do remember it. At least you remember parts of it. It's almost as if you remember the interactions between the two men, but it happened in a field rather than a burning building. As, at least from what she said, she likely took away the stimulus of what caused you the torment, i.e. the smoke, the evening event, and replaced that with something that wouldn't hurt your head as much.
Not legal.
Technically.
It isn't, no. I would not say that's legal.
As obviously the details of the room are gone, so you're not too sure and can't really remember which bookcase it was that opened, or what the room looked like, or where exactly Dovid fell when the elf attacked him. But you do remember that the two of them had the confrontation. The elf used magic to attack Dovid, and the elf was carrying something.
Alright.
What did you see?
Do we wish to discuss this in more secluded? I can't put my words together. I suppose that's in character.
Ma'am, if you don't mind.
I would appreciate if you opened the door, yes.
Opens the door.
And she more heads out.
Nice seeing you, Nyla.
And you, Markusar, stay out of trouble now.
Oh, I'm in it.
Less trouble then, as she more waves a hand.
Locks the door.
Oh.
Are we gonna have any other mysterious people from your past popping up, or is that it for now?
The day is young.
That's not.
What did you see,
Ran, what did you
Ranagash?
see?
There was a field, I think, and Dovid and an elven man, I believe, holding something. Couldn't quite see what. There was a confrontation of sorts and magic.
Did you see Dovid killing my father? Or attacking my father?
There was a weapon, but he left alive. Not before striking Dovid, though, with whatever magic. It was.
Defending himself, I'm sure.
No, it wasn't clear.
This doesn't bring any comfort to me.
Well, because you were wrong.
Because the details are not.
Ran, in your vision, who struck first?
Again, it's hard to say. It wasn't clear enough to say. I couldn't pinpoint.
Seeing Ran is still at least somewhat visibly uncomforted by the vision, I'd more just lift the tea back up to him. Give him a reprieve.
I'm gonna
Drink
drink
up.
Here's some opiate tea because you're epic.
Yeah.
I would more direct my attention to Wolfric and Ranagash when I say it, as I'd more just stand up, give Ranagash a nod and pass him his own tea. I need to get away from this for a little bit, so I will be back in a little bit.
Where are you going?
As I'd more just turn and just dead eyes stare Markusar for a few seconds before turning and leaving.
Dun, dun, dun. As we'll take a little
And I'm
break.
gonna- Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Drama with Markusar. And we'll see if more drama happens when we come back.
If more drama happens, I don't think he's going to be in this party for much longer.
I mean, it's going better than we thought, Markusar, so that's positive.
Yeah, it's going somewhere.
We'll see if it goes any further when we come back.
Yeah. Markusar's town.
Both of you need therapy.
I mean, technically I can get them to stop now because that's me change the screen from break to not break, so we're back.
Let's go. We're back now.
As technically this is, I guess, a snippet of a re-recording since our footage corrupted from last time. But, ew, here we are now.
This is the future and the past, but also the future from when we originally recorded it, but the past from when this will be uploaded.
Time is a
Good, you
flat
understand
surface.
time.
Ewan just giving all of our viewers an existential crisis.
Time is a thing you can put on a wall or wear it on your wrist. The past is far behind us. The future doesn't exist.
Pain exists.
Does that
I know
don't
that
hug me,
pain
I'm scared.
exists.
Yes. Yes, that is
Oh
Don't
my
Hug Me, I'm
God.
scared.
Jesus.
That's like the first episode, I think.
It's
No, first episodes get creative. It's episode 2 is time.
Yeah, because it's one of the first. Because isn't the first episode the color episode?
Yeah, the first episode's the color episode. Why are we discussing this?
I don't know.
D&D. D&D.
Yeah, but we got off on one of our tangents again.
Of course.
It's okay. We'll get back on topic as we will begin with Eidolon. As you have an apology to issue, do you not, sir?
Yes. Yes, I do. Though first you actually need to know where the fuck I'm going.
Yeah, because you have a name, but you don't have a location.
I have a name, and I know a rough occupation, so... Mr. Barkeep's name was Kyle, yes?
Yes, Kyle Carmichael.
I will hunt down the man named Kyle.
As you leave the room to take a small break, stepping out and
It's a breather from what just happened. It's a
getting
breather.
some fresh air. I mean, this is what you wanted, Paul, so I hope you're happy.
He's
I have no
happy in his
regrets.
own unique way.
Kyle's not too difficult to find,
No fear.
unsurprisingly.
My friend's rejecting me. One fear.
As unsurprisingly, he is serving behind the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Not too busier than when you left him.
Alright, again, I would just wait until he's at least done serving, if he's currently serving, before trying to grab his attention, probably knocking on the counter or something.
Cool. He kind of fills up a few other mugs, exchanges coin with a few other of his patrons, shares in a small, I guess, jovial, passing conversation, a bit of banter with them, before obviously turning his attention to you, with a smile across his face, just kind of, so how's the room?
The fact I've already left it should be indicative of the quality.
So you don't like the room then?
Oh no, the room's fantastic, the company less so.
You know he can't stay here, right? He's gonna have to get out at some point.
You could say he's been made aware of that. He will be out by the evening, don't worry.
It's alright, if he's not, I can throw him out again. What can I do for you, though?
Again?
Long story.
Alright. I'm looking for someone. I have an apology to issue.
Who are you looking for?
Name was... Emalia, I think. Carrying pottery, if that helps.
Quite short, dark hair, blue eyes.
Reasonably angry.
Yeah, that sounds like her. She works in a small
Where do I-
pottery shop, back down on the lower hills.
Is that enough to know where I'm going, or...?
I mean, you could ask for more information, or you could wander the town
Oh.
blindly.
I probably should. Any indicators of where it is?
You can head back down the main road, though you can walk the hills, they're a little bit easier. You're looking for a plaza, a fountain. You would have seen it if you came in by the main road, at least in the passing. It's on the corner there. It's called Potter's Pottery. It's quite hard to miss.
Alright, I should probably be on my way then. As I turn around and head out of the tavern.
As you begin to make your way through the streets of Summerhost. Are you going down the main road, or are you jumping the hills?
No, I'll jump the hills, it'll be quicker.
For you, at least, yeah.
Or, as Paul eloquently put it before, rolling down the hills.
Green Hell Zone.
I can hear the music already.
Oh god.
As Craig, you
Yes.
make your way down. To actually pop this so I can see. You make your way down the hills, and towards the lower reaches of Summerhost, where the streets start to open out again. They're not as tight, they're not as enclosed, and you do end up finding, I guess, the plaza that Kyle was talking about. It's quite open space. You can see quite a nice fountain in the middle of it. Probably doubles up as a well, at least by the depth of it. There are a few, I guess, notable shops and buildings in this small place. Most likely a Fletcher's and a small wool shop or a mill in the corner. That seems to have been rebuilt fairly recently.
Okay.
The pottery shop, however, is kind of neatly tucked away in the corner. You can see the pottery lining the windows, kind of a very front open bay window, and the sign kind of hanging and swinging above it.
Cool. I'd give myself a deep sigh before heading in.
Heading in, the shop itself is, I guess, quite small, though very well laid out. You can see the kiln in the corner, and it's kind of all built up upon one room, though you can see a set of stairs in the back corner that perhaps lead up to extra storage or even like an additional living space. You're not too sure. There doesn't really seem to be anyone attending the shop at the moment, though as you come in, a small bell rings in the corner, most likely operated via string. And
Bell
you
tolls for the...
as when the bell rings, you hear a voice from behind the counter, likely either the owner or perhaps the woman you're looking for something behind it. And she more just calls up to you. I'll just be a minute. Have a look around. I'll only be a minute.
Yeah, I'll idle near the counter where the voice came from and just look at the pottery nearby. I'm presuming it's very similar to the type of pottery I've already broken today.
It is, but obviously not broken.
Shocking that, not selling broken pottery.
I don't know, I mean,
Yeah.
people could sell broken pottery.
Wouldn't sell, and I will wait.
It could sell. As you're not waiting for very long, before she kind of pops her head over the counter, a very, I guess, familiar sight in terms of her hair as the black waterfall kind of covers her face and she almost has to push it back, setting it behind her ears. She looks up with a smile, though that smile quickly fades when she catches sight of you. As it more turns to a frown. What are you doing here?
I realized that earlier the breaking of the pottery was very likely my fault, so I came back to provide payment for broken goods.
Okay.
He would have expected a little more there, but yeah, he'd slowly count out a few gold pieces and he'd take out 3 and sort of just place them onto the countertop.
It's pottery.
He'd give a slow nod before counting out the additional gold piece and 5 silver pieces.
That's not what I meant. How much do you think pottery's worth?
As he more just gives a blank expression towards her and just... I don't know how much pottery is worth.
As more to your comment, she kind of rolls her eyes, Craig. And she kind of just sighs. Well, to be fair, I'm surprised you can actually pay for it. I didn't think your kind had much in terms of what they valued.
My kind?
You're with the dragonborn, yes?
Eidolon's eyes more widen in a sense of frustration for a few seconds, maybe even just a twitch for a second. With the dragonborn is an interesting term of phrase, but for what you're implying, no, most certainly not.
Well, the pottery was only worth maybe a gold in total.
Well, as he'd more just like take back a few of the silver pieces, but that's about it, leaving the rest of the gold on the table. You can keep the rest for personal grievances.
Personal grievances?
I mean, I presume I interrupted your working day by destroying pottery, so I suppose take it as an apology.
Well, usually around here we make up with personal grievances a little bit more personally.
That sounds oddly pointed. I don't know how I feel about that. As Eidolon more just gives a nod and saying, well, I am not from around here, so I hope the coin will do.
I'm on break.
Good for you.
It's more
I
the
hope you
suggestion
haven't-
of you coming for coffee.
Excuse me?
As you watch as she puts one of the gold kind of behind the counter in a small lockbox, she takes the other 2, comes round the other side of the counter, calls up the stairs. Marianne, I'm going on break. I'll be back in about an hour. Heads towards the door and kind of turns round to you. You coming?
If I come along for this, and he'd put up his fingers for air quotations, coffee, does that pay back the broken pottery?
It pays back the personal grievances.
Then yes, I shall come along. As he'd head for the door.
She will open the door for you, kind of letting you head out before she kind of closes the door and heads out into the plaza, where I'm assuming you follow her because you don't really know your way around town.
I don't know where I am, I don't know where she's going, so my best bet is to follow.
She heads kind of further down, I guess, the street towards the main road where you guys came in, and towards another small plaza area, still on the kind of lower hills rather than going up towards, I guess, quite a shabby looking tavern. Definitely not as well put together as the Nightingale. Definitely not as classy as the Nightingale from the clientele that are walking in and out of it. Even the scent
Just by
coming
just
out
by
of it's not
looking at the
great.
map,
Yes.
isn't this like if I just looked up and to the right, I could see the Nightingale?
Yes.
Cool.
It's
So I
not
do
very.
have
It's
this right on the
literally
map.
not very far at all. As she takes you into the drunken stump,
Cool. I'll follow in hesitantly still, but yeah.
where she'll kind of wave down a few of the barmaids who you can see are either being harassed by patrons or what looks like the owner, before kind of sitting in a small booth round the corner.
Again, I don't have much of an inclination of what to do except from to follow.
As you more take a seat, she kind of waits for the pot and stuff to be brought over, with sets of metal cups before she starts the pour. So, what's your name?
Eidolon will give a sigh for looking at the pot. Eidolon.
Just Eidolon?
He would give another sigh. A more rehearsed sigh this time. Eidolon de Dallas.
This is usually the part where you ask me my name.
Alright, what's your name then?
Amalia Gracie, though most people around here call me Emmy, so I guess you can too.
I am not from around here, so I'll probably just stick to the formalities for now. As he would try his best at a smile, and it doesn't really work.
We don't really do formalities around here.
You don't seem to do much around here except from... Is there a window I can look out of?
Yeah.
Fields, farmland, and casual vandalism.
Well, we don't do that.
They not you? It was more as a vague general question.
No, the Green Hand live in the forest. They're not part of Summerhost.
Well, that certainly explains the reactions.
They are more of a nuisance than anything else.
I gathered that by the fact that the first thing we saw them doing in town was breaking a farmer's field and letting the animals out. Or attempting to.
Yeah, they do that often.
And from what the Lord has already said, I gather they do quite a bit more, too.
She kind of more looks down, kind of stares into the coffee cup. Yeah.
As Idlemore just sits back for a second, realizing he's probably poked a bit too far there. I'm sorry if that delves into personal matters.
A little.
I mean, is it too personal not to talk about it?
They attack people's farms, they attack people's livelihoods, they raided my own home. They tried to free our cattle. And they injured my father.
Is he well now?
Very well, yes. He was able to recover. He was lucky. He managed to recover half the herd as well, so we were lucky in that sense.
I've heard of a less lucky case already, as he'd more look down to the coffee pot and pour himself one.
Yeah. They happen occasionally.
Can you tell me anything from your perspective about what happened at Avon Ranch? I know what the Lord said, but...
I don't
Is it
really know
more to
what
do with her?
happened. I just know, like everyone else who gets hurt or injured or has something taken from them, they likely try to stop them taking it.
That's about what the Lord said, yes.
People get hurt if they get in the way, but that's no way to live.
I mean, having to get in the way in the first place doesn't exactly seem like an
No.
enjoyable way to live.
You know, when I asked you for coffee, I didn't expect to be adding more to my list of personal grievances.
Does that mean I have more to pay back, or...
That's usually how it works. As I expected pleasantries, not tell us your tragic life story.
I don't exactly do pleasantries. I entered here with questions, and I guess I'm just looking for ways to get them answered.
Well, maybe rather than starting with the questions, you start with some casual conversation.
I reiterate my sentiment before, I don't exactly do casual conversation.
Maybe you should try.
He looks blankly into his coffee cup. As he'd more give a sigh, breathe in, breathe out, steel himself. This is more terrifying than everything else he does in his life. Fine, in that case, as he'd more just gaze around, looking around the room. What do you do then?
I make pots.
That it?
Well, yes, that's what I do. That's what I work as. I'm a potter.
Don't have any hobbies, interests?
It's not really how someone... When you ask someone what do they do, it doesn't usually infer hobbies or interests. It's usually, if you want to know that, you go, oh, so what are your hobbies? What are your interests? What do you like to do? Not what do you do. That implies that you're asking them about their job, about their livelihood. Of course I have hobbies.
Fine. As he'd again try and force the closest thing he can do to a smile, which isn't very convincing. What do you do as a hobby then?
I paint, mostly. Though I work the fields with my family. I look after the animals. Have some affinity with them, but I much prefer painting.
As he'd more just give a nod, and retreat into himself a little bit. I'm going to mimic taking a coffee sip. Oh, do you want me to do ASMR with that, Paul?
No.
Yeah, do the slurp.
No.
I can lean in.
Don't.
Please don't. No.
No one wants to hear that.
I'll buy a mic that has like the two sound waves, so I can just like lean in from side to side, drink liquid from both sides.
No.
Don't like that at all.
As the two of you kind of, I guess, sit in silence for a little while,
Unless she says anything, probably he doesn't really know where to go with that.
is you kind of see her sigh, pour herself some more coffee. I'm sorry.
He'd more just raise an eyebrow. I thought it was my personal grievances that the coffee was supposed to cover.
Yes, but I know I can be sharp.
No, as he'd more just kick back for a second. No, I probably should be the one to apologize. See, apologizing isn't exactly a thing where I come from. It's a new concept I've had to pick up since arriving here.
Well, maybe it will come more naturally to you if you stop talking to me so formally.
I reiterate a sentiment I have reiterated about twice. The only way I know how to speak is formally.
Okay, then stop thinking and just start talking.
Eidolon stops thinking. I don't have much to say in that case.
Well, in that case, you're just disappointing me.
I'm fully well aware of that, and I don't think there's exactly much I can do to... This is more just gesture vaguely into the air. Amend that.
I guess when I thought I was going for coffee with a mysterious stranger, I thought that perhaps you'd have more of an exciting story.
No, I left my home about a month and a half ago, and I'm traveling with a band of people I don't even really know to do a job that I don't really know what the purpose is.
See, that seems interesting.
What about that seems interesting?
Why did you leave home? Why are you traveling with these people? What are you doing? Why do you look like that?
Firstly, I don't know whether I should take personal offense to that last comment or not.
I mean, it looks like you didn't get dressed properly.
Alright, I take minorly less offense to that. I left home because I had a job to do. I am here because I picked up a job that is related to the job I have to do. And the people I'm traveling with are the people I'm doing the job with. As I'd more just dead eye look at her, just like, that's it. That's why a, air quotes, mysterious stranger has walked into your town.
And you walked into my pottery shop because you broke my pottery.
Yes, and I wanted to issue... I know I'm not doing a good job at apologizing for that, okay?
Wow, someone seems stressed.
Eidolon puts his coffee cup down for a second. It's just... really hard, okay?
Break pottery often then.
He does a few breathing exercises. in the nose, out the mouth. Okay. How exactly would you deal with these sets of events? You leave home into a place you've never been before. You travel for about a month and everything's fine. Everything's fine. Then you reach a town and you meet 3 people who you've never seen in your life before, and suddenly there's a prophetic girl who's getting drugged in a town whose powers are being used to shake down travelers. You deal with that and you're like, okay, fine. Everything's just gonna walk now. You get to the next town, and then suddenly one member of your group kills an innocent person. And you just have to cope with that. And then when you get to the town after that, suddenly there's a necromancer stealing people from the town and turning them into demon dogs. Then you get to the place you're looking for. The person you're looking for tells you what you need, and it's like, that's fine, everything's done. And then a giant fog monster attacks in the middle of a competition, killing most of the attendants. And then the person you're looking for just dies.
I'd say I have awful luck.
Thank you. Now I'm here. Also, just so you know, the person who killed an innocent person is the person I already know you hate.
Why you put me on blast like that, man?
Zimmer just sets down his coffee cup.
I guess if that was me, You would just have to take it as it comes.
You see, that's what you can tell yourself when the prophetic girl is saved from the situation, and you can try and tell yourself that after you get to the next town and free from a necromancer. When it happens 3 times in a row, you really expect it to happen a 4th time in a row. And I already know there's something fucked up going on in this town. And I don't just mean the cult.
Then maybe you're in the right place at the right time.
I would not call stressing myself to the point of wishing I was dead the right time.
Well, you don't have to stress just now.
I'm sorry. As he'd reach for another cup of coffee, pouring himself a new one.
You've never really done this before, have you?
No, is it that obvious?
A little. You need some
Last time I did this was... As he'd more just think through the process in his head. About 13 years ago.
Well, you certainly need work.
Do I need to train my skills at coffee shop?
A more casual conversation, but it seems that you needed this more than I did.
I don't know if I'd say that. I don't know if I feel better or worse right now. I hope that at least made your break a little bit more informative.
Certainly made it more interesting.
Right,
And I
that's
still have
what
an hour, if you wish to vent.
I've gone through about everything I need to vent. As he'd more just vaguely gesture at her. The floor is finally free if you want it.
Well, there's not much else to tell. At least about myself.
And I presume you do not wish to talk more about the, problem your town has.
I don't really know much about it.
That's fine. That's no issue. That's a lie, but still. I'm telling a lie.
Most people try to stay away from the druids.
You included?
No. A lot of us are, I guess, observing of the old faith, but I don't really see it the same way they do.
Well, more nature for the sake of nature?
It's more, we have a lot of other sects of druids in the town. They always try to pair nature with progress. You can't have one without the other. You must coexist. Whereas I also see the Green Hand and the destruction and suffering they cause because they believe that progress hinders nature, it hurts it. I just don't really think they understand what they're doing is probably causing more suffering than any form of good.
I mean, it more seems that they just have a disregard for anybody's life and beliefs except their own.
Very much so. But it's something you learn to live with.
It doesn't seem like something you should have to live with, though. So maybe that's just a scared perspective.
Perhaps a little.
More in my, I suppose, by my own beliefs, people like that wouldn't still be alive.
She more kind of smiles, though it's more of a weak smile. You can kind of see the freckles wrinkling over her nose. Do you want another pot?
No, I think coffee's done a little bit more harm than good. At least for the pleasantry's sake.
To me or to you? Because right now you need to stay in town for at least a week to make up these personal grievances.
Listen, tell you what. You said you like painting, right?
Yes.
As he'd more steel himself as he has to ask a casual question. Would you mind if I saw some of them?
I still have time.
Would this help make up for the personal grievances?
Depends if you like them or not.
I'll take my chances. As he'd stand up from the table.
She kind of stands up with you, but kind of more laughs. It also depends if you bump into my father or not.
If I survive, does that also help make up for the personal grievances?
To me, perhaps. To him, perhaps not.
Well, currently I'm looking to solve these ones, so we'll deal with those ones if they occur.
And she more laughs and starts to head out of the tavern.
I'd follow her, but at a less awkward pace as I did the first time.
As we will head over town, we will leave Eidolon and Emmy. I think everyone in the party ships it at this point.
Absolutely.
Excuse me?
Is that wedding bells I hear?
Oh,
It's
stop.
Brad. It's
He has a wedding ring!
Yes, but she's
And this is the girl you need to move on from her.
Stop it!
As we will go back to the Nightingale Inn, we will go back to Ranagash, Wolfric, and Markusar, who are still in the room, obviously after Eidolon's left.
seems like the details of Ranagash's vision are unclear, so I don't feel like it is right for us to make some unjust accusations.
Are you hearing the words that are coming out of your mouth?
My father told me that it was the Lord who attacked him, or his men. Either way, he was responsible.
I'm not even angry anymore, I'm just tired.
Can't confirm the accuracy of Rand's vision. We know that she was removing things from them.
Well, we can't confirm the accuracy of your father's statement then.
Does his word mean nothing?
I don't know him.
Fair. Does my word mean nothing?
Well, I know you, so it stands for a lot more than your father's.
What else did the Lord tell you?
Let's think back, shall we? What did he...
Back to the notes.
All he told us was the events surrounding the death of that woman and child.
If I was responsible for that, do you think I'd be standing here before you? I'd be locked up or worse.
You just said they couldn't concretely charge you and that people's memories were hazy.
Whatever they have on me, they have nothing on me. I haven't done anything.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Hypothetically, whether or not you did or did not do this, the people that you work with are still involved, and
Let me deal with my people.
You are their leader, no?
Of course.
Therefore, whether directly or indirectly, their blood is on your hands.
I will deal with my people as I see fit.
And allow them to get away with murder.
Justice will always prevail.
That it shall.
So, what are we to do now? Though I don't know if the Lord wants me involved in whatever you guys have planned.
Well, what Radagash, Eidolon and I are going to do is we're going to assist the Lord in what he needs to be done so that we can afford him the men to help Lucius out at the excavation site.
I can be of assistance. I can find out what is happening in Hilden. I know it better than any.
Okay, but are you going to behave?
Naughty boy.
Naughty boy.
I will behave as I see fit.
People have been disappearing into the woods. The Lord doesn't know why, but the captain of the guard may have some answers. I am to understand that you have a bit of a relationship with her.
We have a bit of history.
Let's hope it's better than with the Lord.
We shall find out.
If there was any ship from this session, I ship Markusar and Cassandra. Very much.
She literally hates my guts.
And?
Alright.
Let's head to the guard barracks then.
Sounds like
Rad,
a
are
plan.
you okay? Rad?
I'm fine. I'm in fighting shape. It's nothing to worry about.
Unless you roll
Let's
another
make
nat
haste.
1.
Don't tempt fate.
Yeah, I know handshaking.
You're not tempted.
I know shaking hands is courteous, but try to avoid physical contact with anyone for at least the next wee while.
With a calculated risk.
Alright, let's get going.
As the three of
Wait
you
at least 7 business days.
as the three of you head towards the barracks, which is kind of back up the road towards the Lord's Longhouse in comparison to going further down. You passed it on your way to the Longhouse. Quite a small building in comparison to what you're used to, though the training yard itself is quite big, kind of expanding down the hill. It's pretty easy to navigate it, as the main building itself only really has one entry door. Though I guess a curious thing for the three of you as you're approaching is more the voices that are escaping. For Ranagash and Wolfric, this sounds very much like a tired confrontation. For Markusar, these are both voices you recognise. One, I guess, fills you with a little bit more joy than the other, as the more protestant voice is that of your brother, Dortholin.
Hell yeah.
As the three of you approach and you just kind of hear a more tired voice, I can't do it. Not again. And then you hear the, more elated response of, come on, Cass, you can let me off this once. Just this once. No, I've let you off 1,000 times and I can't. I'm not going to do it again. It's not I can't, I'm just not.
Markusar will go walking right up to Dortholin, slap him very heartily on the back and be like, what you got into now?
As he more kind of turns around, Wolfric and Ran, you'll kind of obviously approach the entryway. You'll see the woman already quite tired, looks even more tired the moment Markusar walks through the door, as kind of standing in front of her, spinning around on a heel, is a very kind of broad-shouldered, fiery red-headed dwarf. Braided beard, braided hair, all the accessories, but wearing very plain clothes, similar to that of Markusar. And he just turns round and looks you up and down, Markusar. Ah, wild!
Dorholland, it's been too long. Only a month, I think, though.
It's still too long, still too long, still too long.
This will be one of your flock, aye?
Oh, this is first brother Dorholland, and good brother of mine.
And who are you?
I'm Wolfric Reinbrand of the Iron Dragons.
Renagash the bastard. Pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine, as he kind of comes up and, I guess, starts frantically shaking your hands. As he does so, the two of you notice that he is manacled. As he more kind of looks at you with quite the excitement in his eye. Well, you'll both fit in just fine. We've had Weirder come and join us, so it'll be nice to have some new faces wandering around camp.
I'm gonna have to respectfully decline. I prefer my religion without the indoctrination.
I lean into Dorholland and just like, sorry, they're not with it yet, but I'll turn them around eventually.
Well, at least I know one of you will understand our ways, at least to a degree. White skin, not so much. But hey-ho.
This isn't ignorance of your ways. This is just me knowing what your ways entail.
I mean...
Property damage and child murder?
Let's not get into that right now. Cass, what has Dorholland done right now?
Actually, I do need to get into that right now. Not child murder, but property damage.
Seems like you're a lot of serial offenders then.
It's becoming daily, if not weekly.
Murder and ransacking. I suppose you can take the boy out of Summerhost. You can't take Summerhost out of the boy, isn't that right, Markusar?
Oh, I'm living for this.
Could just take the boy out.
I will speak with you in a minute, gentlemen. I do have something to deal with.
Here's
So,
hoping
Cass.
this is the adequate punishment.
Let us hope not. Come on, Cass, you can let him go. He wouldn't harm a fly.
You have no authority
keep on
around here,
betrayal.
Markusar.
But we go way back.
We're not
for an
going to
old
talk-
friend.
No. As she more kind of looks and sighs. Dorholland kind of smiling, I guess, leaving the two of you. Come on, Cass, you can let me go this once. It wasn't that bad. I can't... Not again. You actually have to pay for the damages this time. With what? I have no money. You know we don't carry a coin. It's not what I meant.
Can you not let him off with a warning, Cass?
And how many more warnings will I let him off with?
This will be the last one, I promise.
That's what they all say.
Fine. I can't deal with this right now. And the last thing I need is you two arguing. At least with me. But if I catch you here again, Dorholland, I'll send you to the Citadel. Understood? I don't particularly like travelling, so... Yeah, I guess so, Cass.
Great stuff.
Markusar, shut up.
Yes. Of course.
As she kind of heads over, you can see her very tired, almost very reluctantly. She unclicks the manacles of Dorholland. Get out before I change my mind. Yeah, I'm gone.
Just before you go, Dorholland, I want to just have a wee word with you.
Aye.
You guys gesture to Wolfric and Rand. Like, you go ahead and try to like take Dorholland away.
Shuffle out just ever so slightly.
Just out of earshot, you know.
Cass does seem
It's
slightly
like
relieved when you do so.
I don't have a lot of time right now because we've got to deal with this lot. We're kind of
Strange lot.
it is a strange lot. We're actually working for. Well, they are working for the Lord, and as much as I hate it, I'm trying to help.
Yeah, I like you'll appreciate that. I'd sooner have you locked up.
I mean, if I play my cards right, maybe that might happen. But you go. I've got a lot to discuss with you, so can I meet up with you later?
Yeah, I'm staying. Well, I say I'm staying in town. I'm gonna get out of town as quickly as possible because I don't want Cass catching me again. I'm gonna be with Neela for a while though. I need to pick up some supplies. A lot of weird stuff's been happening since you've been gone.
Depending on how this goes, I'll meet up with you there, but if not, I'll meet you back at camp.
I'll wait for you at the edge of Hilden. It's a little bit further out than you remember, but I'll be there.
I'll find my way.
As he kind of gives you a nod before more scampering down the dirt tracks, cobblestone roads.
I return to the party.
The moment you walk through the door, Cassandra sighs. What are you doing back?
I'm with these lot.
Not by choice.
And that I doubt. Not yourself, as she kind of gives you a nod, Wolfric. If you must be here, don't speak. Don't touch anything.
Quiet as a mouse. And I go, like, stand in the corner.
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
Mouse that kills innocent boys. We're here to discuss. We're working for the Lord. And we're here to discuss about the men that have been disappearing into the woods.
It's not just men. But, yes, I know what you're referring to. Though...
People, citizens,
Citizens, soldiers, travellers. It's, been, I guess, varied in who's disappeared. Where to begin? Perhaps just under 3 weeks ago, the Lord had began, at least expanding into the woodlands. He had to make the tough decision of whether to, I guess, expand towards the eastwood, which would risk a lot of our lives, as well as a lot of our livelihoods, or sanction a part of Hilden that we could not only benefit from in terms of the logging purposes, but expand a lot of our farms. The growing population, we need to meet demand.
Sounds like he made the pragmatic choice.
Eastwood is a lot further than Hilden, and it's a lot more dangerous. It was, at least to myself and a lot of other people in town, the only choice he had. But since then, it started small at first. A lot of the lumberjacks and labourers disappeared. During the day they would just vanish. Then the singing started.
Singing?
At night, there is a melody that seems to enchant those who hear it. It would take people from their beds, men, women, children, even my own soldiers who were on patrol. They would go into the wood. No one could stop them, no one could break them from the enchantment, and they would disappear.
Like something out of a storybook.
Almost like, and she kind of laughs, the tales of sirens you hear upon the ocean.
I was going to say the Pied Piper, but that works too.
Similar idea. No, we have since issued a curfew. My men helped many of the townsfolk board up their windows, board up their doors, supplied them with, I guess, extra braces to prevent them from leaving unwillingly. It also means that at night my men can no longer patrol the streets.
That certainly must cause some difficulty in policing and dealing with certain actions, as well as struggling to keep the people safe.
It did to begin with, though other than a few daytime raids, my difficulties in controlling such a matter have somewhat decreased. Considering not a lot of people travel in and out of Hilden at the moment, I'm not too sure why. I only have a few raids to deal with during the day. They don't really come into town anymore during the night, though I imagine if we're being plagued with such things, they probably are too.
So it's not one out of courtesy, but it's out of inopportunity. Sounds about right.
Quite.
You're all talking about me like I'm not here.
Hold your wee boy. The grown-ups are talking.
He's really not German anymore. He is Scot now.
Markusar, you're lucky I don't lock you up.
I haven't done anything wrong.
Except kill someone.
That was not proven.
Who says I was talking about here?
It's nice to see that your habits go further than Summerhost.
Yep. Would you like the details so that I can hand it to you in a report?
It's not in my jurisdiction, sadly.
Markusar just kind of like stretching, like, can't get me on anything.
I'll get you with an axe though. Keep it up, you fucking axe.
Now that I know you're back in town, Markusar, one slip and I will have something on you. And I can guarantee you won't be sent to the Citadel, because there's too many people here who would take much more pleasure in watching you disappear.
Who's to say I'm here to do anything, Cass?
Oh,
I'm
you
here to
said you
help
were
the
here-
townspeople.
I'll believe that when I see it. You're always here for something.
Hmm.
The Lord
I'll
doesn't
take-
want me working on this, but I do obviously care about the people of Summerhost.
What,
care
for
about all
recruiting
things.
purposes?
We're like-minded people. I've just shown them the light.
You're a
And
doctor
when you
that
don't show them the light, you toss them to the curb, yes?
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Interesting. I would.
You know, the more I learn about you, the more your surname continues to be ironic. Your father Markusar Wild, supposedly a wild, untamed beast, but you're so whipped by your cult.
Wild by name, wild by nature.
The only thing wild about you is your actions, boy, and they're getting on my fucking nerves.
Do you people not want my help?
Markusar, shut up.
Has the cult always been this bad, or was it worse or better in the past?
They've been better. They've been better since Avelios died.
That'd be his pa, right?
Right. Though
What
that
did he
might just
do?
be because Markusar can't come into town as much.
You mentioned having to bail them out a lot. What's that about?
I am not proud of it. When Avelios was still father of the Green Hand, it meant that Markusar could come into town quite a lot. He could get involved in a lot more. I do believe in the Old Faith, like many people in Summerhost. I considered him and Dorhallen friends whilst I was training. I was the previous captain, Captain Redfield, my predecessor. I was his most trusted soldier and quickly became a lieutenant. It meant that my word meant more than other soldiers. So when Dorhallen and Markusar found themselves in trouble, and I would vouch for them, their sentences would be lessened, or their punishments would be reduced, or they would, I just guess, walk.
So what you're telling me is that he's been exploiting the kindness of strangers for a while.
Put it this way, I can't imagine he's travelling with you out of the kindness of his own heart.
Can't I make friends, Cass?
You only become friends with your own kind, and the people you're friends with out of that you find useful. When I stopped bailing you out, I wasn't your friend anymore.
We're still friends, Cass.
No.
Right?
No, we're not. And if you step out of line, a single talon out of line, I'll have you locked away and never see the light of day again.
Here's me thinking we had something.
Is all you have shitty little quips? Is that all you have when you're backed into a corner?
Mate, you make dad jokes on the regular.
Dad jokes are funny, and they require wit, something that you know nothing about. For the leader of a cult, you sure aren't very charismatic.
Hey, I have a 14 in charisma.
He said a number! Smite him!
He said the meta number.
I became leader of the hand through my actions. I don't need my actions speak louder than my personality.
And nepotism speaks louder than that.
You better keep
He was your dad, wasn't he?
you better keep my father out your mouth, Wolfric.
Or what?
Markusar says nothing.
That's right, all bark and no bite. Anyway, as we were discussing,
Yes.
As a cantrip, can I activate Primal Savagery?
Primal Savagery is essentially the second you activate, I'm pretty sure you make the attack. Though I might be wrong.
Is it the attack? I thought it was just kind of like you can do it.
I'm gonna check.
Yeah, essentially you activate your channel magic, primal, your teeth and fingernails to sharpen, and then you make a melee spell attack when you activate it.
Mhm.
It's instantaneous.
Oh, I thought I could just like give myself sharper claws for a second.
Can you do that with your racial feature?
You can do that with your racial feature. Remember, you
Your
at
dragon
4th
hide.
level you took Dragon
of course.
Hide, which gives you a talon attack.
Oh yeah.
Which is exactly what you're thinking of doing.
So essentially,
Well, I guess.
what you would do is you would just flare up like a lizard does. It's how it works.
I just like from nowhere, just like a big sort of like thing unfurls from my head, like a bearded dragon. Not a bearded dragon. What is the one that does that?
you mean a frilled lizard?
Yeah.
The one that has like a big cape that flicks around its neck.
A frilled lizard?
Okay. Well, I guess I'm just kind of flexing my claws right now. maybe scraping it into the wood of the wall or something like that.
Very scary.
Or the
You should
stones,
consider
whatever
getting
the
a
wall's made
manicure.
You and leave him to describe his thing.
I guess I'm just like maybe scratching my claws on the stone or the woodwork. Markusar was here.
Getting
Green hand for life.
more and more, I guess, visibly irritated.
Yeah.
No. Sadly, we don't know much else about the forest situation to pull it back to a more unpleasant topic.
Well, maybe you can answer another question that's been burning at the back of my brain. Do you know the specifics of the incident at the Avon property?
I was there as a response, yes.
Something that Markusar has referred to in front of us as good times.
It's one of the most unpleasant things we've had happen in a while, shall we say.
I don't doubt that for a second.
The Avon farm or the Avon ranch, they mostly deal in wool, both from their sheep and from their llama and alpaca. Avon himself, he's a bit rough, but he was always a good man. His wife was always pleasant. It was one of a nighttime raid, perhaps a month before the raid on the Lord's Manor. They came in at night to free the sheep from the barns. It was a particularly horrid night, so, well, they had brought them all in, something the Green Hand don't particularly approve of. They broke through the barn. They couldn't break through the door, so broke through a wall. In doing so, they broke through into the home. Avon left, obviously to defend his ranch, defend his sheep, but the Green Hand broke a supporting wall of the house. The original house, Avon's old home, crumbled and collapsed. His wife and child were still inside. They were both killed.
Wolfric's hand is like balled into a fist, and like his veins are popping on the back of his hands. Good times, huh?
Unfortunate accident.
Unfortunate because it happened, or unfortunate that you got caught?
If I got caught, I wouldn't be here. They have nothing on me to say that it was my fault.
But yet, if they caught you, you wouldn't be here. So surely they have circumstantial evidence on you.
Circumstantial evidence is not enough.
My culture is.
But you admit to involvement.
We always have circumstantial evidence surrounding any incident like this. But here, no matter how much I feel it in my gut that perhaps he was involved, as she stares you daggers,
Stare back.
I can't do anything. We need hard evidence. Whether it be their group or the people of Summerhost, we do not convict unless we can rightfully prove.
Naturally.
The only reason I have the authority to send Lord Holland to the Citadel, should he get on my nerves again, is because I have the evidence against him. Likewise, I just need your friend in chains, and then I can send him there too. I'm
You're
using
gonna get
friend
us
as a
on
loose word.
You're gonna get us on a RICO charge.
I bailed you out for nearly 10 years. I have a lot on you, Markusar.
Oh ho ho! I thought it was just a couple of times. A full decade. I think you'd learn your lesson eventually.
No lesson to be learned apart
Like father,
from
like
you.
son.
Like father, like son. You're always with the wit, Cass.
Surely there's a lesson to be learned about freeing domesticated animals, and that if you let them go, they don't tend to live very long.
There's a lesson to learn that no animal should be caged up.
There's a lesson to be learned that
All
If
of
I
She's creatures should be free.
Markusar? Not in my barracks.
if all of the She's creatures are to be free, then why do you keep them suppressed in the cult?
They're not suppressed, they are all free.
Surely they should be allowed to worship in ways that they see fit and not be forced to follow your own doctrine.
I don't force them to follow my doctrine whatsoever. They're there of their own free will. I showed them the light and they followed.
Didn't Cass just say that you throw to the side those who aren't willing to see the light?
Those who do not wish to follow us, we have no need of.
Precisely. So when will your need of us run out? When are we no longer of use to you?
I'm not using you.
You literally just said that people who won't follow the light are of no use to you. I won't follow the light. I refuse to listen to to your doctrine, so am I not useful anymore?
I'm not using you. You were just here.
And I bet you wish I weren't.
Maybe.
I'm gonna say that louder.
I'm good.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, you have given us all the necessary information. Thank you very much, Captain Cassandra.
You're welcome. Now, if you don't mind, can you please take him from the premises?
Right,
I
let's
can let
get
myself out.
Yes, you can. You're a big boy. Daddy gave you the keys to the house all by himself, and you can get dressed by yourself, can't you?
Frankly, had it with your tone, Wolfric.
And I've had it with your flagrant lack of respect for the lives that you have ended.
Like I said, there's no evidence that was me.
You're still associated with it. It's your cult. It's on your hands.
I do not wish to stand here and be accused.
Look, it's either on your hands or it's on your father's, and only one of you is here to answer for them.
Markusar clenches his claw into a fist. If you'll excuse me, I have business to attend to.
That'll be quite
And I
big.
storm out of the room. In much the same fashion that I did the other time in the Lord's Manor, just swing both the doors.
That's just his natural state in Summerhost.
Dramatic. And he says I don't have charisma.
He thinks it's dramatic. Wolfric sees a toddler throwing a temper tantrum.
Quite sad, really. Quite sad. As leaving with Markusar storming out, and leaving Ranagash and Wolfric kind of just, I guess, idling for now, we will head back down the road, head back to the lower hills, and head towards Amalia's house, towards Emmy's house.
Oh, hey, that me.
That is you, though. As the Gracie steading is quite a small steading in terms of a lot of the other farmlands you can see kind of dotted around. It is primarily dairy and so like milk and cheese in terms of the animals they keep. Though I guess like most places you can see a small barn that is likely dedicated to being a slaughterhouse, but it'll be for older animals rather than for younger animals, as this is very much a product farm in comparison to a meat farm.
I mean, even in medieval times, they never killed animals out of them in their prime. It's always older ones.
Yeah. But she kind of takes you more into the house. A very, I guess, elaborate house that looks like it's been here for quite some time, though parts of it have been rebuilt or reassembled or even changed over, just given a fresh lick of paint.
Do I need to make a stealth roll?
No, you do not need to make a stealth roll.
Okay.
Unless you really want to.
I mean, if I don't need to, I'm not going to risk it.
But it could be funny if you risk it.
We're all about fun here.
Do you want me to make a stealth roll? Because I can make a stealth roll.
I mean, I think your stealth's pretty good, isn't it?
It's +5. No, +6.
Go on, do it then.
Fine. If I fail this, that's on you. It's an 18.
No, you didn't. See, you're fine. As she obviously heads into the house first, kind of opening the door, letting you come in. You are very careful, I guess, with your movements into a more kind of open living space, where she kind of calls out into the house, "Dad, I'm home," before more turning to you, kind of lowering her voice just a little bit. You might want to stay quiet.
I would give a very curt nod, taking that as seriously as possible.
As she kind of leads you through the house, even she is quite quiet in her footsteps, quite clearly avoiding certain parts of the house as well.
Floorboards?
More floorboards and corridors. As you can hear more light chatter of another female voice, perhaps another sister or even her mother, you're not too sure. And then just she kind of avoids one side of the house entirely as she leads you up into the attic, where you can see that it has been kitted out as her bedroom, but also as a studio, where there are just canvases littering the room.
I'm assuming with paintings on them.
Yes.
Not just blank canvases.
There are obviously a collection of blank canvases, but most of the canvases have paintings on them.
Are they of actual good quality, or?
They are. Obviously, over the years, you can see probably a few of her earlier works and then more recent works that have definitely kind of increased in their quality, both in what she uses for the canvas and just the paintings themselves. Though a lot of them seem to be, I guess, the same sites, just in different seasons.
Yeah, I guess I'd hoist myself into this attic space. Does she say anything?
No.
Or is
you
this
want-
going to be
it,
awkward
it
again?
was it was more you wanted to see her paintings, so she's kind of letting you take the time to, I guess, look at them, peruse them.
I guess in that case I would peruse them more, trying to get a gauge of what she actually paints.
Most of it tends to be scenery. You can see that the attic itself has quite big bay windows. She most likely looks out of those, as you can see both on either side of the house replicated farmlands on her canvases. And again, various different seasons from sort of summer, autumn, and then you assume winter, though no paintings really show snow. It's
Am I
more
just to presume then that it doesn't snow in Summerhost?
Yeah, strange that. The warmest part of the world, it doesn't really snow.
Wow.
But there are a few, I guess, of Halden, so of the forest itself, and again, various different seasons, but there are also a few of what you can only assume to be are the standing stones. Kind of these big piles of rock that seem to sit upon a hill.
I guess in that case, just looking through them all, turning around. I hope this just doesn't sound like idle flattery, but they are. They are quite good.
Perhaps a little, but it's better than a critic's review.
We just give a shrug. I'm not exactly one for art, but they look like the landscape, and I guess that's the most impressive compliment I can give.
I have a lot of time to look at it.
Surely if you wanted to paint something else, you could just go somewhere else.
I don't know what it's like where you're from, but where I'm from, that doesn't really happen.
My sentiment comes from the fact that I wasn't allowed to go anywhere else. So I
Why?
more trust that your people have the freedom to do so if they want to. As he would continue speaking to avoid the question.
Well, we do, but I have too much responsibility here. So why weren't you allowed to leave?
You saw that I continued talking to avoid answering that?
Yes, so I asked it again.
I suppose, much like yourself, I had too much responsibility, so I had to continue working.
What did you work as? Or what did you do? To use your own phrasing.
Oh, haha. I was a guard.
Where?
Do you know the world well?
I know it from books.
Aramba, Big Wall, North.
No. What's it like?
Cold. Boring. People know what you're doing 5 minutes down the road.
Okay, so what were you guarding?
What does a town's guard? As he'd more gesture out the window, which I presume does look over Summerhost.
Okay, but you said big wall.
Yes, congratulations.
What were you guarding on the big wall?
A town guard protects the people. So I was protecting the people.
She kind of more straightens up her posture. Very mockingly, though, as you can see a smirk on her face. Okay, I guess I'll be more soldierly then. What's the big wall there for?
Alright, I'll come down to your level, as he'd literally go down to her level slightly, considering she's shorter than him.
Yes.
The big wall has been there for a very long time. It's not that important why the big wall is there anymore. It's just there, and people live there.
So you just guard your big wall like you do everywhere else?
Yes. It's what a guard is there for.
Well, at least that's why it's boring. What did you do then? See, it's confusing, isn't it?
I was... Alright, you would still have a town guard here, even if the Vandals didn't destroy your property.
I wasn't asking that. I was asking if you had any hobbies. Do you not have interests? What did you do in your spare time?
If it was not for the laws of the slams. As he'd more just sigh, pace around. There's nowhere to sit in here, is there?
There's her bed, but that's kind of about it.
Then the floor it is. As he'd more just take a cross-legged stance on the floor.
She immediately kind of
Stance?
looks at you.
Stance?
Stance. She immediately kind of looks at you with a raised eyebrow. You can sit on the bed, you know.
Take the hint.
I just thought that seemed a little, I don't know. You're already hesitant of your father knowing that I'm here. Not that I know what that means.
It still means you don't have to sit on the floor.
Adeline would sigh, get back up, and just go sit on the bed instead. My work took up most of my time. I didn't exactly have time to develop much of a hobby. I did have a family, which was close enough.
So, boring guardsman who deals with petty crime doesn't have enough time to do anything to develop a hobby or interest.
Do you intend to poke holes in everything I say?
If you keep giving me them, yes. What was your family like?
My father was fine. He worked the same as I did. My mother less so, but that's more because she was more emotionally invested in everything than he was. And I suppose I did have my wife, and that was who I spent most of my time with.
Did?
Do I need to spell that out too? Does he more just sigh? She died about a year back. That's all.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate it, but apologies won't do anything to bring her back.
No, but...
As he'd give a weak smile, which is the closest he's actually come to giving an actual smile so far.
Sometimes an apology can mean that someone sympathizes with you.
As he'd more just raise an eyebrow. Can you?
I lost my mother.
Then yes, I suppose she can. And then I guess, in reciprocation, I'm sorry.
So what
I'd
is
asked, do
your
you
wall
want to
like?
talk about it, but I take
No.
that as a no.
I'm avoiding that. As you would. But what is
Yes,
your
but
wall
unlike
like?
you, I don't think I'll push that. I've already said it's cold, it's boring.
What does
People
it look
somewhat
like?
more.
See, it's not fun
If you
when people
must,
dance
no.
around the issue, isn't it?
If you must, no. As he reach into his rucksack and take out a small picture, though not holding it up to her yet. Though if I'm going to show you, I'd like to make a small trade at least.
You're paying me for personal grievances, remember?
As he'd more just give a small smile. I more mean I'd quite like to see it drawn.
Alright.
As he'd more pass over the picture. As much as I don't like it much, it is still home.
Well, that's not really a home then, is it? As she kind of gets up.
It's where I live. It's where my family was. I don't see much other definition for a home.
Well, a home is where you feel happy. It's where you feel like you belong.
So where's your home then?
I guess I don't have one right now.
Then that will make two of us. As he'd more just sit considering that statement on the bed for a little bit.
She kind of gets a canvas and begins to draw.
Would she actually say anything or ask anything?
So, Eidolon,
He would look up.
why don't you want to talk about your home?
A mixture of things. It's where I spent most of my life, not exactly wanting to. I suppose, much like you, I had the chance to read about the world and I took it up on that. Her decision, really. And it did bear good memories, but not anymore.
I don't mean like that. Usually when you ask someone where they're from, they, I guess, get a little bit more personal.
There's nothing personal left. I suppose I'll ask you about your home in that case.
What about it?
Though, apologies for the more poignant question. Some of these drawings are of, I presume, Halden?
Yes.
The druids let you in?
It's a free forest. They live there, yes, but anyone can visit the Standing Stones.
Apologies just by the attitudes of the people here and of... As he'd almost give us just a small shudder. Yeah, I didn't expect that.
How would they be able to welcome new people if new people weren't allowed into the forest?
I'd presume they'd welcome new people with, Well, I'm assuming the new people they'd be welcoming would be people who already want to slave their life away.
I guess not everyone who walks into Hilden has the intentions of joining the Green Hand.
And how do they treat them? With the same courtesy?
More or less. Most people who go to visit Hilden are there to worship. They respect that.
Did you head there to worship?
No.
Put together why that might be, but I'll stay silent, because that's a far too personal question. Then what is your opinion of them? I can already tell you don't like the blue one, but...
They destroy property, they destroy livelihoods.
I didn't ask what they did. I asked what you thought of them.
Where you're from, what would you do to people who did that?
They'd be hung. That, or for their crimes, the respective part of their body would be removed. If they broke a fence, their hands would be removed. If they casted magic to do it, their hands would be cut off and their tongue would be removed.
Well, here none of that happens.
Seems like a shame.
When something bad happens here, we can never find out who did it. Everything's done on circumstance. Which means it just happens again and again.
See, where I'm from, if the word is given, then it's taken.
Then I guess
The defendant doesn't even give them a chance to, they don't exactly have much of a chance to defend themselves.
Then I guess my opinion of them is very similar to how you would treat them.
I apologize then that I cannot bring that justice here. Not yet, at least.
It is something you learn to live with.
I trust then this town has had to live with it for a while.
My grandfather and his father before him, that's when it all started. Before then, apparently the town was quite peaceful.
Sorry to interrupt this almost certainly wondrous conversation for you, but could you elaborate on that? As Idlemore just sits forward and kind of like puts his hands together.
Back to more of a soldier speak then.
You just sigh.
I
Alright,
don't mind.
fine. No, sorry. I'll ask it in a bit better way. How did it begin then?
I don't really know. My grandfather used to tell me the story when I was little that we shouldn't blame them for what they do. It's not their fault. It's hard to obviously see it that way. But he used to say that you cannot blame the many for the actions of one man, for the words of one man.
One man?
The Green Hand was made by their previous father.
I've heard about this one.
Ivelios was said to be charismatic, charming, arrogant, egotistical. He was also said to have helped the town at one point. My grandfather and even my great-grandfather apparently knew the man. And at least when my grandfather spoke of the whole issue, had fond memories of the man. Then the Green Hand appeared. And people would, I guess, go missing.
Wait. The Green Hand appeared, as in, did he set it up or did he join it?
He set it up.
Apologies.
Shortly after he set it up, that's when people would start going missing. They would, I guess, follow his word into Hilden. Some we never really saw again, but others we would. They would come back enlightened, and that's when, I guess, the property damage, if she kind of weakly laughs, happened.
Why such a drastic change in his demeanor?
I don't know. I don't think anyone does.
I think I know the person to ask if I need to know. Sorry for probing into your history.
No, I'll just pay it back. Tell me something more about yours. What are you doing here? What is your quest?
Do you want it bluntly or do you also want a story?
Are you good at telling stories?
Not particularly.
Disappointing. Then I guess bluntly will do.
I'm looking for the thing that killed my wife.
Okay, so what would have been the story option?
I've heard of lycanthropes, werewolves,
A little, but mostly just in stories.
so no sign of them around here, at least to your knowledge.
To my knowledge, yes. Oh, well, perhaps if you wandered far enough into Hilden, but I've not seen any.
No, I don't trust that would help. That was what I'm looking for.
That wasn't really much of a story, that was just kind of adding
No,
more to the blunt facts.
I'm fully well aware.
So can I get the story version?
There's not much of a story to tell.
Then why suggest it?
Because you asked.
But why give me the option?
Perhaps consider that there's something that could be said, but no, not yet.
Why?
Not now. You have the people you hate, and I have the people that I do.
Okay, so why can't it be said now? It's not like I know them. I've never been north.
Idlon would more just give a shake of the head and I just can't. I can't.
So, why?
There's a lot that I can't say, simply because of where I was and what I worked as, but this... I'm just not ready to accept it yet.
So I guess there was something more interesting than just guarding the townspeople on that wall then.
Hush, you.
I told you. I'm gonna keep picking holes.
And if you keep doing that, you'll miss a stroke. As I'd more just point towards the canvas.
What are you so afraid of down here?
Down here, currently, that the second I step into that forest, something else is gonna go wrong.
I guess I was more referring to what's bothering you.
Currently, what's bothering me is that the second I step into that forest, something is gonna go wrong.
Wow.
You got further than most, I'll give you credit, but you're not getting any further than that.
I have never met a man that's so avoidant.
I try.
You know, if you remain scared of your past, you'll never have a future. My mother
Did
used
more
to
just
tell
give a
me that.
nod? Oh, no, no, that's not a good comment. Don't make that comment.
What comment were you going to make, Craig?
Well, clearly she didn't have much of one either.
Oof. She would tell me that there's no point being scared of things that have happened, because they can't reach you anymore.
Your mother sounded like she had good advice. In this instance, she's wrong.
I mean, you're the furthest north, or the furthest from north that you can get, other than your werewolf. What else can get you down here?
Think about what you just said. For 1 second.
Well, yes, your werewolf seems to be a big issue, but I take a gander that that's not the only thing you're scared of. Considering you are a guardsman on a wall and you won't tell me what you guard, and yet there's something keeping you from not talking, and I can't imagine it's a scary dog man.
That's one way to put it. As he'd more just clasp his hands, like essentially unclasp his hands, put them down, and then just sort of look to the floor. I'm not legally obliged to answer. I can be silent.
I plead the fifth.
Do you really think anyone here would care?
It's the fact that someone might. And I'm not saying you would, but it's the fact that if I start speaking, then what's going to stop me from saying it to another person, and then another, and what if someone does care?
Well, how many people do you know down here?
None. Except from... You see more just leave the empty gap there.
And she kind of smiles and steps this side. Well, what do you think?
How is the painting? As I stand up and walk over to it.
It's pretty good. It's mostly just lines, because obviously it takes her a while to do everything. So it's more just a line art of the wall of your photograph. But it is a pretty good replica.
Pretty good. You've even been able to capture the dreary atmosphere.
Well, maybe when I give it colour I'll brighten it up.
And then it wouldn't be realistic anymore. Assuming your break's roughly up.
Yes, I should get back to work. And you should probably leave before my father finds out I brought a boy home.
And pray tell, what would happen if he did?
He'd mostly kick you out.
It's a lot better than I expected.
Well,
As he started his way to the exit.
you're a lot more well armoured, perhaps, than the local farm boys. Even if
And
you
that's
did
what
miss
your
a few
father's
parts.
afraid of then.
No, it's more just it wouldn't hurt you as much.
Oh, ha. Yeah, I'd head to the stairs.
She would follow. And she more kind of breaks the staircase, or breaks in the stairwell and leads you out the house, quite quietly. As you head back onto the streets. Do you say anything
I don't
more?
know. I guess he'd try his hand at posing just direct questions on the way back. And trying to give direct answers.
Without giving away too much.
Yes. Though asking her to ask him simple things is the best way to put it.
What is your favourite food?
Things like that.
What is your favourite colour?
We don't
Black
want to hear all
colour.
this. Where's this juicy RP? I want to know what her favourite food is.
What is her favourite food, Em?
I don't know, I didn't really consider that.
Kind of DM doesn't have an entire NPC's life planned out.
Hall caught you off guard.
Well, I don't really need those details, at least not being pressured to give them. Usually in RP it flows a bit better.
Random food. 100 random foods. First one is avocado.
You're not going to be able to grow avocado.
Next is watercress sandwich.
That's a weird one. That's just
Then it's
leaf
flan,
sandwich.
then calamari, then raspberry lemon meringue pie, then baked potato soup, then oyster Rockefeller, and then sticky toffee pudding.
Those are some weird fucking foods.
Anyway,
As you head back down the road, where obviously heading up the main road you kind of break off, and she obviously heads back towards the pottery shop.
I would probably say something to her before we essentially separate, which is more just, it was a pleasure to speak with you. I'm sorry for being avoidant, abrasive, annoying.
As I said, you just need work. But I can definitely say this was one of more pleasant breaks.
Glad to be up there then.
It's not a very hard list to top.
Really says a lot about Summerhost, doesn't it? If this isn't home for you, you shouldn't make excuses to stay all the time. I'm not saying to abandon your work, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm not good at metaphorical nonsense.
Well, perhaps if that place isn't your home, then maybe you shouldn't be so afraid to talk about it.
I'll try do that if you at least try to think about, I don't know, not cooping yourself up here just because you think you have to.
Well, perhaps if we talk again, you can be less tongue-tied.
Don't bet on it. As I turn around with a wave over the shoulder and head up the hill. Probably to try and find Wolfric and Ranagash. Don't exactly know where to start, but I probably head back to the Nightingale. No, it was the Nightingale. Unless I see Markusar. That's the only determinant.
Well, we will jump to Markusar and we will see.
Ooh.
As Markusar, you obviously head to Neela's, the small general shop, where Dorhallen is sorting through several things before, I guess, taking them up to the counter and paying with a small gnome. As you head in, and Neela kind of smiles at you. Not causing trouble, are we, Markusar?
Only a little bit.
Same as usual. Then.
Dorhallen on the back again. Good to catch up with you both.
That's one way to put it. Who are you travelling with?
Very savoury bunch. An iron dragon, a watchman from Aramba, and a half-orc. Don't know much about him, actually.
The human, yeah. They're usually disagreeable, but a half-orc, I thought they'd... I don't know.
I'll swing them round to our side, eventually.
Would be good to have another member of the family.
Of course. The more the merrier. Speaking of which, Dorhallen, what was the news you wished to tell me?
Where do I start? So, we've had a few more members since you left. A few travellers have come our way. A few of the townsfolk as well have come and joined us. That's the good news. Bad news is with your sister.
News do you have, pray tell?
She's always been a bit different. But this is like a new high even for her. Since you left, she's been almost avoiding everyone.
She was always quite reclusive anyway.
Yeah, but this is more so like a few of our members, our brothers and sisters, they have seen her leaving camp. Not to pray, not to go to the Standing Stones. Like, she just wanders into the forest and almost disappears.
How long has she been doing this for? Maybe
a week after you left. I mean, she was quite argumentative for that week. She wouldn't bloody shut up. Didn't like the fact that you put me in charge instead of her.
Of course I would choose you. You're my brother.
Aye, but she's your actual sister, so you can see where the animosity came in.
But you know how we were. We weren't.
Markusar is an actual sister?
We weren't terribly close.
Aye, but I think it just adds on to the pile of she should have been given the title of father, not you.
Surely mother, but correct. Semantics.
Yeah.
It confused me why father chose me.
Because you were worthy of it. You deserved it more than she did. You did more for the Green Hand than anyone did.
Your words are too kind, but I can see her point of view. She was his actual daughter, not just some stray found in the woods.
I guess, but he would have seen something in her that made him choose you. But that's beyond the point.
So she started a week after I left.
Yeah.
I've heard from the Lord that people have been disappearing. When did that start happening?
Maybe around the same time. You don't think she could be involved?
She's a wild. She could be. It's definitely within reason. Wild by name, wild by nature.
Perhaps then.
I wish to return to the camp. If she's there, I wish to speak to her. The Lord doesn't want me involved in this, but seems like I am involved regardless.
Well, if you're involved for our people, he can't really get angry at you for that, can he?
Yeah, I don't think he'll be too happy. when I solve this for him. But maybe you'll stop chopping down our trees.
The day he stops
says
attacking our forest will be the day when it snows in Summerhost.
I've missed you, Dorholm.
I mean, with the two I met, I can see why. Brittle company.
They're not so bad, though they just don't see our way of thinking.
Then
I
why
hope
do you
to.
travel with them?
The same reason I left in the first place. Father gave me a quest. I'm here to fulfill it.
Do you think they can help?
And they have their uses. But I think their usefulness might be waning. I believe I know what I need to do now.
Well, he kind of pats you on the back.
Hopefully they can be of help.
I trust you, Father. As always.
Thank you first, brother.
But for now, let's go home.
Do you think I can still take you in a fight?
No.
Okay, whatever. I'll just catch you unawares.
Then that's not taking me in a fight, is it?
Good point.
As you head from Neela's, she more wishes you well. And Eidolon, you don't bump into him on the streets, though obviously with your 19 passive perception, you more catch him in your eye as you break from the lower hills, heading up into obviously the upper hills to find Ranagash and Wolfric. You see walking down the hills towards, I suppose, the more decimated forest and towards the lumber yard towards Halden, is Markusar, more buddied up with a dwarf. Very fiery, red-headed dwarf.
I'll keep that description in mind, but just due to the distance, I'll continue my route back to the inn. I'll prioritize seeing what the other two know first.
As you guys end up outside the Nightingale. Meeting back up, of course.
Alright, Eidolon, how's your day been?
Didn't exactly spend it in the way I thought I would, but it was enjoyable.
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Did you get up to anything interesting? Did you speak to that woman whose pottery you shattered?
Yes, in fact, that was the person I spent most of the day with.
Oh, lovely. She nice enough?
I mean, I ended up having
Engaged?
coffee with her, and I went back to her house and saw her paintings.
Moving quite fast, are we?
Shut it, old man.
Anyway, did you
Eidolon would give you sort of a glaring eyes, but with a smile at the same time.
Markusar fucked off.
Was it something you said or something he said?
It was something I said.
Was it deserved?
Most of it.
Alright, what do you know?
What I know is that the captain of the guard, Cassandra, used to be good friends with Markusar and his dwarf friend, Mulholland Drive.
John Mulaney.
John Mulaney. It's your father, John Mulaney. And Markusar and Mulholland were using Cassandra to bail them out of jail whenever they'd get in trouble for property damage. Also, the woman and her son died when after they broke into the pen to free sheep. What they broke is they end up breaking a supporting wall, which then caused the entire house to collapse with the wife and son inside.
So they're murderers. We knew that already.
Yep.
Anything else?
We need, we know mysterious creatures in the woods. The lumberjacks have been disappearing. It's a hypnotic song that draws people to the woods. We all kind of know this. But
I don't know if it's related, but I do have a little something for when you're done.
Yes.
Oh. I've spent most of the afternoon with the potter that we ran into before. The one who... Yes, I broke all the pots of. But it seems that whether it's related or not, people have been going, I guess you could say, missing for a very long time.
Let me guess. It's the cult.
That's one way to put it. Whether it's a hypnotic trance or if it's merely who the person was, Markusar's father, with large air quotations,
Hey,
would often talk to the members of the town, eventually convincing them, or, well, you can put it together yourself, they'd eventually disappear, and then they'd either never be seen again, or months later, be part of the, I would say Green Hand, but it's more courteous at this point just to call it a cult.
Ah, lovely. So not only do we have an eco-terrorist cult who's destroying the livelihoods and murdered 2 innocent people, but they're also kidnappers.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
Isn't that swell?
Oh, also, for more reason that we shouldn't like them, the Potter girl's father was assaulted by them in an attempt to try and get rid of his entire herd of cattle.
Yeah, it's a flock of sheep, a herd of cattle. Yeah.
Thank you. So, more just
I
evidence
really
that
don't
the
think
cult-
they get the concept of a domesticated animal.
No, I don't think they realize that when you let a domesticated animal into the wild, it will likely die within a few weeks, as it has no way of finding food.
It also has no defense mechanisms. Or very muted defense mechanisms. They really don't think this through for such a nature-loving cult, do
By
they?
the sounds of them, they don't think about anything.
But this doesn't mean we should underestimate them. Cult tactics are dangerous.
When you put a lot of idiots in the same room together, it becomes one very strong idiot.
Cult
Yes.
tactics are dangerous, so we should never underestimate them. Because cults are manipulative.
Wolfric, the next time we see Markusar, do I have permission to kill him?
We'll not put it that far yet. He's not done anything to us personally. But we need to be on high alert around his people. Markusar is on thin fucking ice. His people cannot be trusted.
And he cannot be trusted.
Yes, but we're not going to be openly hostile around him.
So I can't kill him.
You cannot kill him.
Yet. As Eidolon would take his hand away from his sword.
As I guess with those less than ambiguous hostilities, we'll end it there for tonight. Your first session in Hillview. Hillview? Summerhost?
Summerhost.
Can I ask just one question?
Yeah.
For the pottery breaking, was that random? Was that like a D4?
It was a D4, yeah. It was technically a D4 and I removed Matthew from the mix. Because he wasn't, I guess, engrossed in the argument. Although maybe I should have included him because he was a 9.
Also,
Yeah,
fuck you, Markusar.
What?
Fuck you.
What?
You're an eco-terrorist bastard.
Okay, let's not get all this.
Running a child murdering cult. Okay, Manson family.
Cult.
Let's save it
Kidnapping
all
cult.
for next week, guys. You know, we want.
Oh yeah, when we can actually kill you.
As ending this session, we have 3 of you in Summerhost, and we have Markusar heading back to the Forest of Hilden, which will be quite interesting,
Hell yeah.
as it won't be long before night falls and you get to see all the spooky shit that happens in the evening.
Also, because of what happened before, I'm completely willing to be possessed by whatever this song is. Because last time I was possessed, I was able to break out of it.
That's true. Yeah.
By spooky bullshit.
That is technically a good plan.
Oh shit.
If Wolfric and Ranagash, I guess,
Hail
made
me.
themselves immune to the sound and then just let Eidolon take the fall.
I'd have to ask the spooky thing inside of me to
That's
help,
true, yeah.
but I'm sure it would. This is helpful.
But this could be interesting. But we will end it there for tonight, with more spooky events in Halden next week. But for now, bye from me, and bye from my boys.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm not gonna be here next time. I'm gonna die.